There he is. Okay, you recording?
I don't want him to see me drinking milk. I gotta finish my muffin. Yeah, I'm recording.
This time, it's different. With Peter and Chris. This time, it's different.
There he is. Peter Holmes.
Oh, hello.
Hello.
I hit record because
Yeah.
you guys don't know how to do a podcast. I'll hit record. So you started in the dem?
Yeah.
We did, as the only thing we could think to do. Like, we were going to do a little tour again. And that was gone. That got ripped away from us.
Look at that
sorry.
sick merch drop that just happened. The Pete Holmes Show mug.
Oh my god.
Oh, yeah.
I thought that you would notice when I grabbed this, and then I was like, I don't care. But I knew it bears a comment. These are from the show. You can't buy
awesome.
these. You can't buy.
It's just original merch.
You can
Is
have
that
one. I have a whole box, like dozens and dozens of them, but almost no one wants them.
I want one.
That's the sauna in the background that we've all heard about. That's it.
That's the real merch drop. A sauna is only, I mean, I know, I think it's like $3,000, and that's a lot of money. But like, exercise equipment is a lot of money. It's not that it's not traditional exercise equipment. I
Right.
find it much better than exercise equipment. All I'm trying to say is, I know it's sort of fancy pants, but it's not as fancy pants as it seems. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's therapeutic. It's good for your heart. I use it every day. And if I had like a treadmill and an elliptical, it wouldn't be that weird. But for some reason, sauna is like, what are you, Play-Doh? You know what I mean? It's like,
Because I had never heard anybody call it exercise equipment before. This is that's a first for me.
well, sitting in the sauna for an hour, I think, I don't have the correct number. It's something like 800 calories or something. It burns 800 calories.
Oh, that's
sweet.
great. Okay.
Which is
need
why I
to
have
get one.
no tone.
Also,
Which is why I'm like the least toned person alive. Because what I consider exercise is it is cardio in the sense that it's cardiovascular. This is so boring. Everyone's turned this off. Everyone hates this.
that's usually when this happens. It's usually about the 2-minute mark that our podcast gets turned off. So it's all good.
Yeah, it's normal anyway.
You're like
that's
Netflix.
normal.
You have
Yeah.
the numbers.
Yeah.
You ever watch a show on Netflix and you hate it and you turn it off even sooner than you maybe would have given it a shot if you didn't know that you were casting a vote?
Yeah, you're like, I'm messing up my algorithm right now. I gotta stop this quick.
I want them to know this didn't work for me.
That's also weird about the algorithm because you'd think it would know. You'd get the hint that you only watched 10 minutes of it a month ago. But then every so often it's like, want to keep what? Like, remember this? You're like, get it
Yeah.
out of my feed.
And then every once in a while that works.
You're like,
You're like,
okay.
I think I do want to watch this now.
I'm back in full.
But I think they have the weird thing I heard about Netflix, or the strange or interesting thing, is that like they'll kind of let directors do it however they want. Like they're not like overimposing.
Oh, like the movie or the show or whatever.
Yeah, the
Right.
movie or the show. I heard this about movies, but then, and I just heard this on the street. But then where they get really involved is the editing, and they'll say like, "Can you take the action scene that's in the third act and just have a flash forward to it in the first 5 minutes?" Just so people know, like, that's where this is heading. And if you watch a lot of Netflix movies, they do that. There's
Weird.
something in the first 5 minutes.
It
that
gets
makes you
good,
go,
I
like-
promise.
Yeah, it's someone just could come on and go like, I
Yeah.
know you have to meet a guy.
Hang on.
This is super boring right now.
It's his job. It's his girlfriend. It's his best friend. Just hang with us because this is going to happen.
There's an explosion later, I promise.
Yeah,
Don't
yeah,
worry about her.
basically.
She dies. She dies. Anyway, what I'm trying,
Don't waste your time with her.
Yeah.
it's so weird. It's so weird that they try to fix or change things in the edit as though, like, I have this picture in my head of Netflix executives being like, "Did you shoot anything with like a green car? Like those are really." You're like, could you not have told me like 6 months ago when we were in pre-production that this is what you wanted?
I would have happily put in several green cars.
I could have got that done for you.
I watched that my octopus teacher last night because it won the awards. And that's just a guy who's trying. I was like, now I'm being shown all these nature documentaries of David Attenborough, and it made me question, like, because there's a new one with him in it, and he's walking around with the animals now. And I was like, I thought you were just an actor. I thought he's just a voice actor. But am I wrong?
He's now an environmental?
Well, now he's like walking around like Jacques Cousteau or whatever, just like, touching
wasn't
parrots
he picked
and stuff.
for his voice? Like that's
what I thought. And now
that's a real pain in the ass if somebody's like, you know how you did the voiceover for Planet Earth and all those things. They want you to like go into the Cobra's den, and it's like I just smoked when I was a teenager. I just have a good raspy voice. I don't understand why this is happening.
My only environmental creds.
And he has to pretend like he likes it. The thing that I'm concerned about with like Amazon or really any of the new networks that have all the data is that like there's a real risk of like just giving us what we want, which I know sounds like it is what we want, but so often like we don't know what we want. Like Tarantino, like someone I love, came in and gave us Pulp Fiction, and that was something like we didn't know we wanted.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And like if we just, I don't know why I'm taking this soapbox moment. I just think you guys can probably
It's important.
make
It's
it
important
funny.
stuff.
No, I think you can make it funny.
Oh, shit. Okay. All right. Standing by, Pete.
I'm not worried about making it funny. I'm going to let you guys do it. But it's like, no, I'm done. That's really the point. It's like, it's like how like McDonald's or certain places figure out what chemicals or what tastes or flavors or sensations you need to become addicted and want the food. And that is a pleasant experience to eat McDonald's. But like at a certain point, you need some like weird French guy or some weird Italian guy or some weird Ethiopian guy that's gonna be like, but you've never had this. And we're like, holy shit. But making art only based on other successful art and like algorithmatizing.
Nice.
Woo!
I like it.
Stuck the landing on that.
I don't know if that works. I don't know
either.
I don't know if that works.
To your point though, like that is like the McDonald's analogy is so perfect because McDonald's is giving us exactly what we want, and we prove it by going there 6 times a day.
Yes.
But it isn't that good. Like your brain goes, yes, thank you. But your taste buds are like, yeah, I don't know, whatever, take it or leave it. It's fine.
Well, that's what disturbs me about, I don't want to say which show it was, but Val and I during the quarantine were like, let's rewatch this show.
Oh yeah, we were doing that too.
And because I have no ties to, it wasn't Tiger King, but it might as well have been Tiger King.
Right.
Let's rewatch Tiger King. And you watch it and you're like, I've never seen this. Like it feels like a new season.
Oh,
I know.
Because it just passes through you. Yeah. Like leaving no real impression.
like so much McDonald's.
And it's like, I had watched Friday Night Lights, and then I was like to my girlfriend, you have to watch Friday Night Lights. It's 5 impeccable seasons. And then she's starting to ask me what happens, and I'm like, I actually have no idea.
Yeah.
I'm here with you.
I don't, again, this sounds very judgmental, but it's like, what are we getting out of TV? Is it plot retention or character, or is it just like a Jungian, like a dream? Like you just see symbols and images that remind you of your life, that make you feel less alone. You go like, I'm like a football star in Iowa or whatever it is. And my coach was like my dad, or more likely, I wish my dad was like this coach. And then like you're feeling all these feelings. But I've seen Mad Men an embarrassing amount of times. So much so that I had to make a rule not to watch it anymore. Like a rule. I was like, you can't. Like you have the part of your brain that's your dad. Like, I mean, like you're dadding yourself.
Yeah.
You go like, stop it. He said no more Mad Men. But if I rewatched it, I would be like, there'd be some cliffhanger, and I'm like, I don't remember what he chooses. I've seen it 6 times. Yeah. And I wouldn't know.
Did you have to put a note on your fridge? Like, remember, don't watch.
It's like mementoing yourself.
Oh, I thought you meant for the plot.
No. Small tattoos of yourself.
I could memento myself.
Yeah.
But I think our movie's different. You do remember what happens in a movie. I think what we're talking about is the hypnotic state of binging a show. Yeah. That's when you can't even hold on to it. But if you were watching Friday Night Lights, or your girlfriend, more importantly, for the first time, was taking a week to just sort of like talk about it and like think about it and dream about it. Like we're just like ranch hosing ourselves with this stuff.
Well, it's like it comes to a point when you want to start a new show and you're just like, I'm going to put on a movie because in an hour and a half, it's done.
Yeah.
It's just completed. I've
Yeah.
seen a story, and we can move on.
Yeah, that's right. And then movies get longer and longer, of course.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I'm just going to watch The Irishman instead of the first 6 episodes of this show.
My favorite Irishman thought. It's weird that I had a favorite thought about it. Because I was like, I would love to see The Irishman because it's like intended for my dad, right? It's
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
It's not for us. It's for my dad. It just is Goodfellas, like for my dad. It's just like a new one. But my dad doesn't have Netflix. I was like, they need to release this on 8 VHS tapes. My dad,
Yeah.
like a set
With a gold border around the case. Like,
Yes, of course, the Criterion Collection
Yeah.
sort of thing. Yeah, it's tape 1, tape 2, insert tape 2. These are the instructions that my dad could follow.
Have you felt yourself getting into dad stuff yet? I'm starting early. I'm like 36 now, but already I'm pretty into World War II.
That's really funny. When I was a kid, I would be so bored. My parents would take me to like the Rockefeller Mansion or something, and I'd be like so bored. And I knew I was getting into dad mode, into like an older stage of life. When now I'm like, people lived here. This is where they inhabited. Like I'm so excited.
Yeah.
And the worst thing though is I'll play music from my youth. Not even good music.
Yeah,
I was trying to defend the song "Walking on the Sun" by Smash Mouth. Okay, I'll do it for you guys.
We'll be walking on.
Yes.
Okay,
Okay, here's my point. What is the difference between that and "Spirit in the Sky," the Noah Greenbaum song? Very similar organ riff up the top. You know what I'm saying? Up
Yeah.
the top, at the top.
Up the top.
I can't even do it. That is. And Walking on the Sun is. I know it's different, but it starts with that like you're on the ride.
Yeah.
What I'm
The
saying
intro.
is, it's bad now because it's Smash Mouth. What I'm saying is, if it was a Stevie Wonder song and it came out in the 60s, it would be the coolest. But like we're very good at assessing the collective. Like in 1999, we all decided to stop liking Dave Matthews Band. Like that just happened.
That was weird. I do remember that moment. There was like a memo.
I remember. It's almost as if I got a phone call.
Yeah.
And it was like, that's over.
They're done now.
Yeah.
But if like I
crash into me, it's over. No more.
I know I'm jumping around, but that's what Jim Gaffigan said that on my podcast. He was like, never be cool. He's like, you never want to be on the cover of Rolling Stone. As soon as you're up, that's where they can shoot flaming arrows at you.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
no one goes up and doesn't get torn down. The only example I can think that's counter that is Zach Galifianakis never had like a, like he seems to have navigated away from the overkill.
I think he also controls the dose. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of an example of somebody, but I guess it would be mean to just throw out examples. Because like I don't know, maybe some of these people are your friends. I don't know. You're like a big time Hollywood guy now. But I just
You're
mean
on
like
the deck of the Enterprise. Which one of us?
Yeah, no kidding. You're on set right now.
yeah, but I'm in the helmsman's position. I mean, that's not that high up.
That is very funny. That is that Zoom background should come with that bit. If anyone points this out, say, "Well, I'm in the helmsman position, the mayonnaise position of the Enterprise."
I'm in the mayonnaise position.
I know it's Hellman's, but helmsman's.
Helmsman. I like that. I like that a lot. But the pun aside, I feel like the mayonnaise position would be the transporter room. That person has no windows. He just stands,
my God.
and he doesn't have a chair. He has to stand there the whole day, just beaming people up and down.
The windows
To better
on
places. Bring me
That
back
is so
something.
funny. But so, Dr. Crusher, she's got no windows. They're in like, isn't the medical area sort of a
That's true.
windowless?
That's true.
The windows on the Enterprise in the hallway, and I think Picard's office has some.
Yeah,
pretty
he's
dope
got a window.
windows.
Yeah. He's got windows.
He's got beautiful windows.
Corner
I feel like we
office.
all, anybody that's been on Space Mountain, you know, when you're waiting in line for 8 hours, they have those
Oh, yeah.
windows that like are like sort of
Yeah.
domed orby bending stars. I feel like it's the same on the Enterprise. And when I was a kid, I was like, I just want to look out those windows, man. I just want to stare at the stars.
I just gotta look out the windows. I love that. I can't even remember the point I started. Oh yeah, just that like some people when they hit, they throw way too much of themselves out. They'll just like be like, I'll do anything, and then you see them everywhere, and you're like, okay, now I'm tired of that person.
No, I hear that. I guess the example I'll safely give is I think Tiffany Haddish is very, very talented, and so is Kevin Hart. And sometimes I'll go on a plane back in the day, and you know how the screen on the back can only have 5 movies on it at once, like you're scrolling through the movies. And I was like, Kevin Hart is in 4 of the movies out of 5. And I don't think the world is even close to being done with Kevin Hart. But it does make me go like, oh no, like
Be careful though. Yeah.
Relax. Not even be careful would be like if I was like, you're gonna burn out and people are gonna get tired of you. It's almost like what I worry about the balance. This is so stupid to do. For all I know, he's a deeply balanced person. I know that this business is so, it can be so taxing. And to go from movie to movie to movie to movie. And whenever I watch some of that documentary about him and he's just like, Mark Wahlberg's the same way. They're just like, never stop. It's for my family. It's for my kids. I gotta keep going. I'm like, first of all, fuck no. It's not for your fucking family and kids. Like, you have $15 million. They're fine for 15 lifetimes. And they're just like, I gotta get another Wahlburgers in fucking Dublin. And it's like, no, you don't. No, this is about you. This is about you. No, like, how dare you lie to yourself so baldly that you're like, everything an entrepreneur does, it's for his family and for his wife. That's all it is. It's like, really, you don't get a rush. That's like if I told Val, I was like, I do stand up for the family. Like, fuck off. You want the crowd cheering and laughing and all that.
This is for my kids.
That rush. I do this for my family.
Yeah.
That's why like the pastors that I've known, the ones that I've liked are the ones that admit that they sort of enjoy the performance, like because they're doing a set.
Totally. Yeah.
And the ones that are like, no. This one, it's all for the Lord. It's all for the Lord. It's like, you did it. Like, you did it. Like, you did. Like, you had to remember all those words. You had to speak. Like, you were involved. Like, you can accept applause. But we don't applaud at the end of sermons because we're like, this one's for the Lord.
Good sermon.
That worked on that all week. All week.
He practiced that big moment.
Next week.
The original podcast.
It was. Church was the original podcast.
Pretty well, yeah.
It always threw me off. That always threw me off about growing up in the church as well. The band was always like that too. And we would always, the hands up thing if you went around to those churches and you were like,
we did. Yeah.
And you were like, I understand that this is for the Lord.
Yeah.
But we're facing the band. We're giving the band this vibe of like hands up for them.
Yes.
And you can always tell when the lead guy or like just real enjoys it a little too much. There's like a level. There's like that's like, and now it's for you.
I think.
The music director at our church was also like, he was this pretty hot guy, and
they're always
he was
hot.
like,
they're always
he was the youth pastor as well as the music guy, and he was getting something out of that in that way too. He was getting like, when it was time for cookies and coffee after, like there was a little crowd around him. Like he was getting his
What I didn't like about
popularity
all that was there was no spiritual allowance for like the okayness that makes you feel good. You know what I mean? Like, and I used to play that game. I would lead Bible worship and I led worship and I'd do Bible studies and stuff. And of course, look at me now. Like, of course I was like, oh yeah. Was I your spiritual director? Like, you loved it. You loved it. But you had to pretend like you weren't involved. And I mean, there's a lot of showbiz involved in that. And it's kind of kinky if you think about it.
Yeah.
I don't even mean sexually kinky. It's like psychologically kinky to be like, I did it, but I didn't do it. I didn't do it. I mean, you have to like chase them to get them to admit, okay, I did it.
I like that. I mean, it's also a little sexually kinky.
Yeah, no, it's yeah. There's no way to be psychologically kinky and not have it like flutter,
even just
like
a bit,
flutter of electrons down to your ding dong or your puss. You're gonna feel it a little bit.
This is
Not a full
this is sort of a
salute,
pivot
yours.
question, but like, did you find a difference from doing stand up to when your podcast became popular? Like the familiarity of which people approach you.
That's
like,
the best. That's the best question. That's it. That's if somebody. I remember when podcasts were taking off, and I'm very grateful that I started when I started. I think that had a lot to do with like. Now you have to compete with, and I love Conan's podcast, but when I started, it wasn't me going up against Conan. Like, even my wife will, who loves me, and I don't need her to like. I thought you went, bitch. Even my wife, bitch. Whoa.
The
I tried to
audacity!
get away with
Holy
it.
shit!
I was trying to be respectful. I was like, "This is a good point coming," and I don't want Zoom to like ruin the audio. So I'm just gonna cough.
Funny. In the old radio stations that have the cough button, I don't know if you've ever seen that, where you just
need
push
one.
it and you can cough. Yeah. Anyway, she loves Conan, and I can't even compete. Like my wife loves me, but she'll often listen. If she listens to one podcast, it'll often be Conan's.
Yeah.
And then I love that because she'll tell me about it. Anyway, so I started and I was reluctant. I kind of didn't want to do it because everybody was like, it'll help with your touring. And I was always like, I don't want to tour. Like, that sounds like a nightmare. Like, but because I didn't know what touring was. Touring is when you go on a tour to places and groups of people that want to see you. I had only ever worked the road. So they were like, it'll help your sales. But I thought they meant
forced
like,
on people.
it'll help more people be forced upon by you.
Yeah.
More anonymous people who don't know you from anything will come to your shows. And I'm like, that sucks. But if someone had said like, no, when they listen to your podcast and when they already like you, the first
They'll go to the theaters with you.
Yeah, and the first 20 minutes of your set is usually like, hi, I'm Pete. I look like a youth pastor. I know. I'm from Boston. This is what my dad sounds like, or whatever it is. You could just start, and they'd like your first joke. Like they wouldn't wait to see if they liked you. They'd be like, it was like the feeling, I think, of a friend is in town. And based on talking to people, they would be like, we that was the feeling. It was like, our buddy is in town. Like people would be like, do you need a place to stay? Or they'd make you cupcakes or whatever. Really, really nice stuff.
It's like even me reaching out to you, I did feel like I've listened to you for hours.
Oh, wow.
Like, honest, like I listened to your podcast, not to just like butter you up or anything, but just sort of like, I was like, I feel comfortable reaching out. I think I know how he'll respond. Yeah.
No, and that's happened. I think this is I listened to your podcast too, not regularly, but I listened to it after you asked me to come on. And I thought it was great.
Hey,
I've done it for even like a fan has like a double digits listenership, and just because like they'll write me some letter and it's like the most moving, beautiful, like, oh my God, I think we would be friends sort of thing. And you do their podcast. So it is this weird like highway to finding your people. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know the value of that because I had never found my fan base. I still trip out that I'm like, I know this sounds phony, but like in the spirit of not being phony church people, I mean it. Sometimes I'll be in my bathroom and I'm like, they asked me to tweet about my vinyl. Like my special Dirty Clean is on vinyl and it must not be selling very well. So, cause the company was like, could you tweet about it? And I was like, okay. Right. And then I was like, I can't believe anyone owns my like a record. Like they have the record of my special and puts it on. I can believe it, but there's a part of me that's just like, how did this happen? It feels good to get into that space. It's a gratitude space, but it really is a disbelief space. Like I'm like, so they have like their albums, and one of them is my name, and it's things I said. It's so
I mean, not to just talk you up again, but it was like when you said yes, we just sort of started reminiscing, and like you get asked like, because we'll do like interviews and stuff as well, and they'll be like, what are your comedy influences? And your first ones are like, oh, it's Monty Python, and you go way back, and because your dad watched Monty Python,
Yeah, that's what we
you think
grew up
that's
watching.
it.
Yeah.
But then we were like looking at our old sketches and being like, "Oops, that's Pete Holmes' voice." Like
That's a Pete Holmes bit.
like like we have this one sketch where Peter personifies a towel, and I walk and he's like wet and he's been left on a chair, and I get out of the shower to use him, and then it flashes to him and he's like, and you can do it, Peter.
Well, I think we just ripped it straight off of one of your bits or something, like one of your sketches, like College Humor or whatever.
Yeah.
But I've wrapped the towel around my face, painted my face orange, and what's the voice? It's like, oh, I'm wet for you. Oh, I stayed wet.
I stayed so wet for you.
You didn't hang me up, so I
And we're
stayed wet.
That cadence is you. Stayed wet for you.
Oh my God. That
Pete,
is so funny.
we actually do. I've got a little piece of paper here, which is our apologies to Pete here. And that's number one. We need to apologize for using your likeness for wet towel.
Wet towel.
Wet
Nice
towel.
Wet towel. Get over here. I'm already moist. Wrap me on your shoulders and then sort of improvise is how you want to do it.
I when I was doing, because I did Second City Main Stage before the pandemic in Toronto
wow.
here.
Wow.
So I was doing this bit where I was a magician, but all my magic tricks were just long walks to flipping you off. And then after that I would go magic, and I'm like, fuck,
Oh my
that's
God.
Pete Holmes.
I know
There he
where I
is.
got that.
I thought you were like, please, I'm about to let you off. You're not even on the hook. Like, there's no hook. There's no hook. It's like the album King of Limbs, no hooks. I actually really like that album, but it's
What
not
a
very
deep
hooky.
cut.
And that was sort of my friend Pat Walsh tweeted that. I'm realizing now he tweeted something about like it's like an unsuccessful fishing trip, no hooks or something like that. Anyway, I thought you were gonna say, and this sounds like I'm holding your feet to the fire, but there's a doctor sketch we did where I do all these like I'm always flipping people off in sketches, and I'm like moving my clipboard and like covering my hand and like reveal. But I mean, I didn't make that up.
No, God, I didn't make it up either.
Me and my brother used to do this one
Yeah.
where we would go, which hand, which hand, which hand?
Yeah.
And then
Which
guess a hand, and then you go. And what I loved about it was you were wrong, and then you were flipped off. Because whatever
Yeah.
hand they picked, that you'd make them
Yeah.
wrong, obviously. The nicest guy in the world goes, you're right, yeah, that was it.
You guessed it.
But like, when I just, like, there's just, comedy is almost like a aurora borealis. This is very weird, but it's like a collective
Yes.
unconscious.
Yeah.
And like we're all sort of in service of it. This doesn't mean like you get a pass to completely rip people off, but like when I look at what I was doing, I'm like that voice is definitely because of my influences. Like Brian Regan was coming in there, TJ
Oh,
was
yeah.
in there. Like whenever I
Right.
watch any of my friends from Chicago do crowd work or improvise or do like silly stuff like that, I'm always reminded of how we would watch TJ do stuff like that, and he really had an impression on all of us.
Right. You take
And I had wondered, because I had noticed, like, and I was like, is that like a Chicago sort of accent? Because I guess like Adam
That's what I
Pally
mean.
sort of has that little bit
No, it
too.
is.
And I was like,
but it's Bill Murray.
right.
When Bill Murray, fat guy in a little coat.
Yeah.
Chris Farley is doing Bill Murray. I'm not taking away from Chris Farley, but
Right.
like, let's sing like Bill Murray. You know, it's or talk like Bill Murray and be like,
Of course.
can I
that's
borrow
a good
your
point.
backpack? Can I borrow? I just want a backpack. I can't really do it, but like he's doing that Y sound.
I never thought about
Yeah,
that. Such a good
yeah,
point. Bill Murray.
So TJ specifically sort of enlightened me that this aspect to my voice, which is more effeminate, was funnier than fighting it. Like leaning into it and being like, "What's happening? What's going on?" That was something that he was doing that like rubbed off certainly on me.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's such a good point because I never thought about the Bill Murray connection.
But that's why I'm saying Chris Farley's doing Bill Murray.
Right.
Fat guy in a little coat. Like, that's Bill Murray. Like that's
it goes
a
all the way
Bill
back.
Murray impression I just did. Like the
that
way
is good.
your voice cracks and all that. But that's what I'm saying. Chris Farley's one of the greats, and he was doing Bill Murray. So it's almost like we're scientists and we're trying to prove this hypothesis of comedy. And like what scientists do is they read the research papers of other scientists. If you try to publish a paper that's just saying the same hypothesis and coming to the same conclusion as another one, the scientific community will be like, this is bullshit, you're a fraud, you're a hack, you'll probably be booted. But like if you watch my early stuff, the big yellow one is the sun, like the Pete Holmes dumb voice. And I would say this to them. Jim Gaffigan, bread, they have bread here, is very, he changed it. But like that is because scientist Brian Regan published a paper, a special, that Jim Gaffigan, me, Bill Burr, the flip. Oh, you gotta like. This is Bill Burr. This is Bill Burr's silly voice.
I love
He's
it.
like, you're going there. You want to be a nurse? She's over there going like, oh, you're so great. You're so great. It's this is not to call them out. What I'm saying is, there's a collective. It's a collective. So when you tell me that I'm doing, or you were doing a voice that I do. I'm like, that's the most beautiful way to like contribute.
Right, we're using your science.
You're using my science. I bet it's the same feeling if I see two funny people like you guys doing something that is using a theorem or an equation that I helped develop, but I'm also telling you that there were these scientists that helped me develop it.
Yeah,
and
as long as we pass it on. Yeah,
we're all just pushing it forward. And then there's also cultural taste. Like you guys are defining a taste, and what an audience for some reason, this is very heady, but like that's like live. It's a controlled experiment. I'm doing it for audiences, and this is why stand-ups, I think, and improvisers probably make a lot of breakthroughs for live audiences. So you're getting the data. So the audience is involved in this as well. I probably for a long time I was doing a New York voice for my dumb voice. I had this bit about New York State Lottery, and their slogan was "Hey, you never know." And I was like, I love that it's just like, hey, you never know. You never know.
That.
Do you know? You never know. And so I was like, oh, the crowd seems to like, and really what are we talking about? It seems to be not offensive to do a New York accent and a Boston accent. Like these are like safe accents to mock. I'm not trying to be salacious, but you couldn't do a Native American voice. Like there's certain groups that's like, fuck you, like fuck no, like we're not gonna do that. Okay. Yeah. But the New York accent seemed okay. But that was the data, and really the data was how they laughed at that, and then I tried that more. So what I'm saying is, it's hubris for me to even be like, I made it. The crowd was giving the feedback to be like, this is what 2015 wants. Like, because we are 2015, you know, we were 2000, and now we're 2021, and we're going like,
what's the new thing?
What do we like now?
Yeah.
So that's why if it's not against you, it's for you. If someone is, you know, same team, even though people think stand-ups are like so cutthroat and lone wolf, I'm sort of like, the good ones, Dimitri Martin will go, Stephen Wright, like,
it's fine,
I'm not gonna... You think I just came up with this? and I'd love to talk to Stephen Wright about it, but I'm sure he has some name like Shappy McNuts or whatever.
He's good. You know, he's good.
You should have said Shappy.
Are you back out doing live shows? Is that back?
My first one is tonight, actually.
Oh, really?
Oh,
Cool.
I haven't done
it. Is it inside with walls around you and a roof over your head?
Nope. It's hobo. It's hobo style. It's outside.
Right.
But apparently this one it has the illusion, because I think they did something smart where it's like in an alley. So there are two outdoor buildings and you're in between them. So it creates, it's almost like a catch-22. It's like there's still walls, but we're still outside.
Yeah,
and
somehow
I guess
fine.
LA, you can get away with that. Like if you were to do that here in Toronto right now, it's friggin' rainy and snow. It's way too cold.
Yeah. And it's about to be way too hot.
So you're going to have to get inside soon.
I was wondering though if like there's, and I guess you'll find out tonight, if there's that feeling. Your comedy's so positive anyway, but if it feels like, because my girlfriend was doing had to do a JFL roast just like a week ago, for Just for Laughs up in Ontario, and it was this thing, and I was helping her write these jokes. They were all like negative and roasty,
yeah.
And I was like, I don't want to be mean right now. It feels like the world doesn't want to be mean.
Yeah. No, it's like I noticed a real shift when Trump won and things just got a little meaner. I don't mean to offend anybody if who cares, but the world got a little bit harsher. What I meant is we had a political leader that was sort of like, hey, I call it like I see it, and you got a fucked up face. You know what I mean? Like it was just
and that's
sort of
cool,
that.
and that's funny. Yeah.
We remember the game Cards Against Humanity. It was say something fucked up to your sister and slap her. Like, that was so fun during the Obama administration. Like, it was so fun. And then I remember after Trump won, we were playing it and we're like, say something cheekily racist. Or what? I don't even remember how the game
and you're like, this
was.
isn't fun anymore.
And you're like, I don't like this. Like,
I feel like the Cards Against Humanity whole game came out of Apples to Apples. The one card in Apples to Apples said AIDS, and that was always like this harsh joke you'd throw in and to offend everybody.
That's right.
Someone was like,
what if every card was that?
AIDS. That you sort of said that, Bill Murray. And people are talking about AIDS.
AIDS.
Like it softens everything.
Yeah.
But I actually, okay, so we were talking about
headed back to positive.
Sort of talking about the subconscious. So I love roasts. I am a positive comedian, and I'm with you. I don't think this is a great time for a roast. Nobody wants anybody taken down a notch, because what do we roast? We roast identities. And what does a quarantine do? It removes your identity. You don't have an identity anymore, like, because you're just inside, and your identity is a reflection of how people treat you and see you and how you respond in a relationship.
Oh, that's interesting.
So like there's no that's why I sort of quietly enjoyed this time, was it was very like self-emptying, if you will. Like I just got to be just a guy making a sandwich for my daughter, and that was actually kind of beautiful and calm if you could lean into it and if you were able to not worry about XYZ.
Yeah.
But when life is up and bullshit is at its best, and we'll be back to manufacturing our personalities and all of our nonsense and all of our personas, and everybody just goes around acting like nothing's happening, like we're not ghosts in a shell, just being like, hello, how are you? My name's Dan, and I'm a serious guy. And you're like, well, my name's Steve, and I'm the guy who plays the AIDS cards in Apples to Apples. And like, I really think there's a lonely feeling in our bellies where we're like, this isn't it. Like, this is just a game. And roasts, and by the way, this sounds super spiritual. I also just mean like the unconscious is like, the nicest person also is like, I just want someone to sit on my feet. You know, like they have like really gross, or not gross. They have things that they are ashamed of.
Yeah.
So a roast can be, like Jung and Freud said, it can be shadow work when it's good. When it's done in like if I'm roasting somebody that I know especially and like especially, but it doesn't have to be. When I was in Montreal, I roasted Blake Griffin, the basketball man.
Oh yeah, we were there that year too.
I like basketball man. I like referring
man.
to him as basketball man.
And it was really fun because I really don't follow sports. That is sort of one of those things you could call bullshit on. Like, you don't know it's called basketball player, but it's fun to pretend.
Yeah.
I mean, I play video games. I know enough. Anyway, it was so fun because everybody called me Mean Pete. I needed to like other myself. I needed to become like a persona, or I felt more comfortable being like, I'm Mean Pete tonight. I'm not going to be that. And just like fucking, it felt so good to just tear down and say stuff you
Griffin.
really. What's that?
Just tear down Blake Griffin.
Tear
It's
down
so
Blake
funny.
Griffin. But I mean, I did. Like, people gave me some. Like, you want to talk about things that we don't talk about, and one of them is like somebody. I think it was Jimmy Carr helped me write this joke because I didn't know anything about basketball, but he was like, you make, I don't even know what it is, 75 million a year. I don't know what it is. Let's say it's 75. It's
outrageous number.
Outrageous number. And I go, you make $75 million a year. This isn't quite right. And you've never won a championship. I've never won a championship. Where's my 75 million? Something like that.
Yeah, got it.
But what that's doing in that very loose, light shadow work is like, wait, why do you make so
Right,
much
yeah,
money?
yeah,
Like, it's like a safe place. And he's laughing too. He didn't make the system. He didn't make this. Like,
just
why
in
do
it,
we
of
value
course.
you? Like, so you're worth 10,000 middle school teachers? Like, it's just like, it's insane. It's like really insane. And you could call the same bullshit on a comedian or anything. Like, I'm not off the hook. But there's this discrepancy in money, and a roast can be a really safe and helpful way to get those laughs out so they don't turn into like ulcers, basically.
Right.
Well, and that's kind of the point of, I mean, I guess that's one of the points of comedy, which is to kind of like pull that back and to be like, this is crazy. And to get a little spiritual for a bit, because you do on your podcast, so now we do too.
Yeah.
We don't too.
We
That's
don't
so too.
Your some of the best spiritual, I guess, would it be advice or like one of the best sermons was hidden inside of your special, your last one. And it was like, oh, why hasn't a pastor said this to me when I was going to church? And it was your bit about, there was just that sense of like, it could be lights out at the end. It could be nothing.
Yeah.
But also like, come on. You know what I mean? Like, look at all this. And I was like, that highlighted my feeling about this whole world so much, where you're walking around, you're like, so this is just like, it's just here and then it's going to be gone later. Like, come on.
Right.
There's something going on. There's a little something here.
Yeah.
Well, that was based on, I can't remember the exact quote, but it was something Ram Dass said. There's a great little 20-minute documentary of his called Going Home. It's on Netflix. And he said something in there that really resonated with me, where it was like, the way I phrased it in the special basically is that life is evidence of like impossible.
Yeah, exactly.
Impossibilities. So what I say in the bit is an afterlife would make as much sense as a life. Like, you woke up here. Like,
Yeah, what's that? Exactly.
Like,
Come on.
and you know what it's also based on is Penn Jillette, who's obviously a famous atheist. I was like, so when you think when you die it's lights out? He's like, probably. And he's like, but I believe in infinite possibilities. I live in a universe of infinite possibilities. And all of the great thinkers that I consider great look to what is for evidence.
Right.
And what is right now is consciousness. Like, that is,
Yeah, so you're like, probably,
nobody.
yeah.
This is the thing that I've been tripping out on lately. It's like, nobody's off the hook. You can be the most hardcore materialist and just reason and science, and that's beautiful. I don't even want to change you. But I do like to point out that you're not off the hook. Because the Big Bang Theory, which is just a theory, we do know that there was an explosion that expanded the universe. We can prove that something happened. But the theory really down to its roots, and I'm sure they find this very annoying, just like when I was a Christian, I found it very annoying that people would be like, so a monk falls in a ravine, he goes to hell? Like, it's like...
Totally.
Yeah, that whole thing.
Yeah.
It's probably their version of this. But the Big Bang was nothing and erupted for no reason. Okay, that's fine.
That's fine, yeah.
All I'm saying is you're not off the hook. You're still a magical, mysterious motherfucker. Like, you're still here with me. And I happen to be in the tradition that likes symbols and stories, because I know that the best way to understand love or joy or connection or sacrifice or grace or mercy or redemption is through stories. And I go, well, I'm going to follow that out and say probably life itself is not explained best with facts. Like, it doesn't necessarily. I don't want the sheet music. I want to hear the music. I want to hear it. I want to have it pass through me. And that's what mysticism is. But like, I sure do need the sheet music. I'm talking to you with the sheet music right now. I just want to be very careful to not put down science. I'm trying to invite them in, even if you're so much smarter and understand all these things that I'll never understand.
Yeah.
The fundamental building block of reality is still a fucking mystery. And a good scientist, in my opinion, the ones that I like talking to, will happily concede that point. They'll just be like, yep. And that's the common ground that I like. That's why I can talk to an atheist about it. That's why I can talk to a Deepak Chopra about it. It doesn't matter how woo-woo you are or how black and white materialist you are. We can all go to the stomach-dropping sensation of what is right now, which we don't have to debate whether or not it exists, because it's happening right now. You are experiencing it right now. Let's just talk about that. Let's just talk about the phenomenon of being. And that's what, you've probably heard me say this, that's what God in the Old Testament says his name is. He says, my name is I am. And I always thought that was God being sort of like a bitch, being like sort of cheeky. being like, "What's my name? My name is. My name is." Like, get out of here.
And then
But that was the
disappears.
first metaphor. They were saying,
Yeah.
the energy that started the universe is like a bush that burns that isn't consumed. So what is that? That's just like an endless renewable source of energy. Okay, for evidence of that, look at anything in your room right now. Moving.
Yeah.
Dead people are filled with atoms that are moving and changing and interchanging. There's a constant
Becoming
source of
something
energy.
else. Yeah, yeah.
And if you ask that energy, what is your name? Smoke some DMT if you want to do this yourself. I've never done it, but you could. If you ask that energy, what is your name? It would say, I amness. The only way it can explain it to us, stuck in these meat puppets with these brains, these dualistic brains, it would go like, I am the quality of amness. I am being. And you are that. And that is the common ground. And really, that's the only question to ask. It's the only question to ask. There's other questions to ask in the game of life, but I mean, the big one is that.
I think the second biggest question probably would be, how much money do you have in your bank account?
How much cash you got?
Yeah.
Speaking of materialism.
What do you got?
Liquid. What do you got that's liquid? I know you're a burning bush, so you probably don't want to talk about liquid. But what
I
do
know
you got
the
that's liquid?
you got the sauna asset, but what's liquid?
Yeah.
Oh, I want to list the sauna in my assets. I have a sauna. I have a car.
I have a sauna, I have a car, got this chair. I did not mean to ruin the because I thought that was very insightful and really a lot of fun to go on that trip with you just now.
Yeah.
But the comedy brain was like, you're gonna have to ruin this moment.
Oh, I mean, that's my whole life. I was watching Curb. JB Smoove just did my podcast. It's not out yet.
Oh, cool. Yeah, that's great.
Sweet.
Yeah, he's awesome. And I was watching a lot of Curb, and I was like, Curb can really bother me because I think it's great, and I laugh at it, and I think it's interesting. But I said to Val, I was like, it's like you're in his dream. And you really feel like every character is just saying to him what he wishes someone would say to him, so he could say. And by the way, that could be any auteur, but some auteurs work harder to disguise it.
Right.
But the thing that this actually sounds like a criticism, what I like about it is that he's just tripping over himself to get to the funny part. And that's why he had 11, 12 seasons, and that's why my show had 3 seasons, is because I couldn't stop interrupting myself with, well, what if Pete sits with Penn Jillette and he explains atheism to him? That doesn't mean my show is better because it's deep. I just mean I can't even get through this podcast without really coming to life when we start talking about the name of God. Did you know that the Hebrew name of God is Yahweh, which they think is mirrored after our breath? So it's like... So it's not supposed to be something else somewhere else. It's life. It's life. You don't have to believe in it or not believe in it. It's fucking happening. I get really excited. But then
I love it.
When we talk about boners and pizza and whatever.
Sick. Yeah.
I love that too, but I can't stop interrupting myself because I don't know, you could die tomorrow. I will say the things that I feel the best about at the end of the day, I do really love the times that I've made people laugh. That can be such... you ever need a laugh? I'm sure you have recently.
Yeah.
You just need it, and someone gives it to you, and you just cry with laughter, and it's such a joy. That really is like a mitzvah. That's a gift. And then I'm also glad that I had the other side, which is the people that are I grew up religious, and I just... Because religion really ruined spirituality for so many people.
Totally.
And then they don't get the fun, like I said, the stomach drop fun of let's go back to the origin of everything and let's just sit in that sort of titillating unknowing. Religion comes in and goes, don't jerk off. And you're like, well, fuck. How did...
I was enjoying that. Yeah.
You could dump in the swimming pool. I mean, it really did. And worse than that... I mean, there's lots of great and beautiful and compassionate reasons to be an atheist. It's usually because you can't pledge allegiance to something that's been used to rape and murder and control.
Totally.
So that's great. Usually that's like you're further ahead. Your heart is probably more likely to be able to open and blossom and be converted, meaning see the world differently, see the world as yourself. That's what conversion is. But I don't know where I was going with that. Boners.
Well, you were talking about why Curb worked for 15 seasons.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and Curb's just funny. He doesn't care.
I see what you're saying.
I'm watching going like, no one would say that. No one would say that to him.
I would find myself,
Right.
I could watch like two in a row of Curb. I love Curb.
Yep.
It is one of my favorite shows, but I become more of an asshole in everyday life because I just start
You
to
mirror
be like,
it a
there's-
bit.
I see injustice towards me everywhere.
That's
and just
what-
like,
that's
what?
what the
There's
show
no
should-
pickle on my burger. There's no pickle here. You know, it's just like,
And then JB comes and goes, you don't put a pickle on a burger. You put a pickle beside a burger. The pickle's got to be on the side of the burger because the pickle's very wet. And if the bun gets wet, Larry, then you're eating a beverage. You don't want to eat a beverage. You want to drink a beverage. You want to eat a sandwich. You want to, and he
That's
like
good.
agrees with
love that.
him as if he didn't like kind of come up with the scene where it's like, and you agree with me, and you sort of say like,
Yeah.
it makes the sandwich wet. I do believe he's improvising, but like JB at least knows you agree. Like you
Yeah.
agree with me. And so what it is it's the insanity of my own mind. I'll split characters in my own mind and I'll be like, that person was wrong. And I'll make another me in my mind that goes like, yeah, that's basically what Curb is. They should have given me the hand. He cut in front of me and give me the hand. You gotta give him a hand. And then what are we doing? You're like, and I think Larry is a genius, and I know he knows this. I don't think his interest is in making like a show where you learn lessons. I think he just wants
he doesn't want to see
laugh.
a growth
No.
happening.
You know, there's no growing. It's just fun. And I actually think there's something profound about just holding up. This is the insanity of being human. Because even though it makes you more of an asshole, I could also see it make you laugh at yourself and stop doing that. Be like, what am I? That guy's miserable. I got to stop this.
You sort of lightly suggested that was like a reason why your show didn't go as long, because like did you see yourself as like always trying to get to the end of every episode or something, like or like what was it that you compared it to,
Like
with Curb?
Curb just wanted to make you laugh, and I think that'll always be great, especially if you're like a genius like Larry David, and you're just like, what did I have? Sometimes I have little Curb. Somebody who directed Curb directed Crashing. His name's Jeff, and I would pitch him my Curb ideas. I don't have my phone, but every once in a while I'll write down like a Curb thing.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, this is so Curb, and I got to tell him to him.
That's awesome.
But yeah, he was polite to listen to those. But what we're talking about is, I like talking about deep stuff, feelings, relationships, love, the meaning of life, so much that I would rather have a 3-season show that people go
right.
like, that episode really like opened me up on this or that or this. We don't have a lot of those, but it's almost like what I'm saying is the way that I'm a podcast guest and the way that I'm a podcast host is also the way that I make shows, and it's also the way that I make stand-up sometimes, and that I can't really help myself. Once you get a taste of what I would call the real,
Yeah.
it's very, very Morpheus, but when you taste
real, yeah.
the real, that's the difference between pretending you love God and actually really having like a lit up intensity to talk about.
I like
on the
that.
street. You know what I mean?
There's also got to be an addiction to, and maybe this is more practical, this is more meat and potatoes about it, but like there's got to be an addiction to trying to figure out how to word it in a way that is accessible. Like, do you ever find, because I'll go off, but I don't know enough of the philosophy, like the gears and stuff to make it make sense. So I just end up sounding really weird or not making any sense. So there's an addiction to like, oh, how can I figure out a perfect way to say that makes my point so clear?
Yeah, no, and when you find other people, more often I'll find other people that say it perfectly, and you're like, it's different. You love it, and what's crazy is it's not like comedy. You can do other people's bits. You can say who it is.
Oh yeah,
but you can't go on stage and say this is an Anthony Jeselnik bit and then do it. But when you're talking about spirit, talk about a collective. Talk about people that are like, as soon as Don Scotus proved this. Theologians just took that, and everybody. Richard Roy did my podcast, and I told him an anecdote that I had heard from Ram Dass, and he just said, "Oh, that's good. I'm going to use that." Like it's like everybody's like, it's the big game.
Yeah.
So it's like science. So there's no like, oh well, that's my theorem. You have to pay me $50. Like it's like math. As soon as you develop
because numbers are numbers. You can't
That's right, and that's how it seems in theology. But I'm happy to talk about comedy too and do silly bits.
Well, that's what it was. One of because we don't want to take up too much of your time here, and we are coming sort of like to the end of what our episodes usually go. But we did have. I wanted to do a lightning round with you. We could do a classic 3-hour rap of. I know you're used to that. I do want to say the intro, the fake intro that you did. I don't know which one of you it was that said that was Peter.
Oh no! Here we go. All right, it's trouble time.
Laugh so hard.
The Pete's picks. Yeah,
the Pete's picks.
Are you on Alpha Brain right now?
I'm not on Alpha Brain because I don't work on the weekends.
Right.
That's a real key. If you're able to not work on the weekends, I will feverishly write down ideas because that's not working.
That's your brain working. Yeah.
That's fun.
Yeah.
You're being quiet enough and relaxing enough that it comes out and you enjoy it. That's fun. I like that. But I don't like plop in the chair and go like, all right, let's bang it out. And that's when I take. I mean, it is right here. This is
Alpha Brain.
I really do love. And this is my Charlotte's Web. Charlotte's Web isn't a sponsor anymore, but
what's that?
That's the CBD, right?
That's the CBD.
Yeah.
These are the gummies. I don't drink anymore, and I don't like smoking pot. I love smoking pot. I think it's super fun. But like, usually if I smoke pot on Monday, I'll smoke it on Tuesday, and then I'll smoke it on Wednesday.
I see what you're saying.
Thursday.
Yeah.
It sort of puts the hook in me, and then I'll do it enough that like I'm so cloudy during the day that I can't do what I really love, what really gives my life meaning, which is like connecting, reading, remembering, learning, growing, changing. I just become like an empty styrofoam cooler. Yeah. It's just like, what can I eat today? Like it really puts me in my animal. And I don't say animal to put it down. That's what's good about it is somebody that's so heady, you can smoke weed and you come into your body a little bit and you're a little less critical and you laugh more and all that stuff. So anyway, CBD really was and is a really nice in-between. This is not an ad. We're just talking about it. You can
I'm sold. I'm going to get it. Yeah,
any kind of CBD you want or not. But for me, even when I was doing Crashing, you don't want something that's going to intoxicate you at all. But you want something that just makes you like a little bit. I always put it this way. I was like, you can just feel a smile kind of behind your face. So I'd be in the 11th hour of shooting. And I'd take just a little bit, and I just didn't care as much that the lights broke and we needed like a 4-hour
right.
Show.
Yeah, that's a good sales pitch right there.
It's
anyway,
fine.
It's like we all want to laugh more,
but I could still remember. I could still read. I could still that.
Yeah,
I know, Chris. We definitely want to get to do the like rapid fires, but I really want to quickly ask because this could be like good advice.
I was planning on an hour and a half, just so you know.
Oh, great. Okay, cool.
Let's do it. But this might give us that hour and a half here. Is like because I'm wondering about Crashing and the making of a comedy TV show, and the difference. One thing I've been trying to wrestle with as we do more film and TV stuff, like trying to make more web series or whatever, like pitch stuff, is that there is a difference between Chris and I's quick history is we did a lot of live comedy, like theater sketch comedy stuff. That's how we got our start. And there's a translation problem I'm having. Maybe not a full problem. It's I'll figure it out. But between doing live comedy and TV comedy. And when you were making Crashing, that's what I'm wondering. Did you notice a translation that needed to happen from stand-up to scripted? And if yes, like how did you overcome that? Or how did you make the translation work?
I mean, there really is. I mean, I liked the movie Barb and Star Go to Vista Del Mar, but I also was like, oh, it's a herald. And that's what I didn't like about it. It was
pretty funny,
I laughed, and if Kristen Wiig, dream guest of mine, I'll tell her how great it was.
Oh, for sure.
And I'd mean it. We really needed it during the pandemic. So this is not nitpicking. I'm just saying it seemed like two improvisers saying, let's put on its legs a movie that's sort of based on the way that we improvise. So not to ruin the movie, but like I noticed the way they were riffing on the airplane in that movie just didn't feel, it felt scripted. I was like, oh, these are plot points. Remember when she's like, and she lives in the ocean, like, and I was like,
yeah.
It didn't
You're
feel
like,
like they were
"That's
just
coming
trying to make each other laugh. It felt like
Right.
they were laying pipe, as we call it.
Yes.
And that's what they were doing. They were laying pipe
Yeah.
because it's going to come back at the end.
Yeah.
And, you know, I don't have to explain it, Harold, to you. Every part just sort of came back. And if I had seen that show as a Harold, I would have lit myself on fire and
Right.
jumped out the window into 15 mattresses I pre-prepared. Like, I would have been so thoroughly entertained. And then when I watched it as a movie, I was like, I loved it. I'm still calling it an A-. But the minus is because I'm like, there's something in the... Seinfeld talks about jokes being like organ transplants. So you have the idea and it's like a lung and you have to bring it to the patient and you have to put it in. And something in the moving of the lung, just a little too much air got on the lung. It still worked, but I feel funky when I swim. You know what I mean? Like there's something wrong.
That's awesome. I love that.
Isn't it? It makes jokes sort of exciting. So, which they're not. His other comparison, by the way, is you're asking the audience to jump between two cliffs. And he's like, if the setup and the punchline are too obvious, there's no titillation. It's like jumping over.
Oh,
nothing.
yeah.
And if it's too far, if you didn't explain it enough, they all fall in the middle. That's like when they don't follow you.
Yeah.
So you want it to be just right. So they're jumping and they get the rush. Like I didn't think we were going to make it.
I got
but we
there.
made it.
Right,
And we all got
totally.
there together. Maybe some people fall in because they're drunk or they're not listening. But
Yeah.
most of us make it.
Yeah.
So to answer your question, when it comes to like improv is, I know this isn't exactly what you asked, but it's like improv and stand-up are sort of funny because they're happening live.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
There's an element of it, like it's happening live.
Yeah.
Like I remember on the show Louie, I bad person, you know, flawed person.
Sure.
Yeah.
I feel like when you mention a scandal, flawed. He'd have characters like in the grocery store talking like stand-ups, and I just remember being like, why do I not just not like this? Like I actually kind of hate it. They'd be like, I said, get the fuck out of my cunt, you fucking piece of shit. And I'm just like, this in a stand-up club where we're all pirates and the doors are closed and the windows are drawn. I'm like, ha ha ha, we're pirates. Like, God, it's nasty and fun. But then now it's on TV and the lung didn't quite make the transplant for me.
Yeah.
A lot of people probably love that show. So it's a different thing. So improv doesn't like directly translate. We can't just film what we improvised. And you can't just film acting out like your stand-up premises. Like everything, meaning whatever it is, I have all this like highfalutin like comedy is the Aurora Borealis.
I'm into it.
Like a TV show and an idea will either want to be a TV show. You have to be careful with an idea. It's like a little baby. And it's like, you go, this could be a movie. And you really have to check yourself. Do you want it to be a movie because you think you're going to make $1 million? Is that why? Like, do you want to go to a premiere? Do you want a gift basket from the ArcLight? Is that what this is?
I feel like there's the other thing of when we hit shows and be like, it's a web series for us right now, but like also to these executives when they're like, what? It seems more like a movie, and you're like, yeah, okay, then let's make it a movie. How about
it's like,
we'll do anything.
Right.
We'll do anything to our baby. Anything you tell us to. Yeah.
That's a little different. So the baby is whispering what it wants to be. That's kind of creepy. The idea wants to be honored in a specific way. And this is why it's great to do lots of different types of comedy. Sometimes you think of something and you really just go, like I literally just said, it's really funny to call Mark Wahlberg Mark Wahlberger. Like I just made a note.
Yeah.
But it's not like stand-up funny. I couldn't ask people to jump between two cliffs and have the punchline be Mark Wahlberger. You file it under like basically like cute, for the right moment, maybe social joke. Like you just do it to make your friends laugh.
Yeah.
It's like we were watching the movie Mank, and then a few days later, it's embarrassing, but I farted, and Val was there, and I just went, "Oh, that's Mank," and she laughed so hard, and that's just because when we were watching Mank, I didn't say it right away. That's an amateur. Mank sort of sounds like something you'd say, like, I guess what is the word? Rank?
Rank, dank, yeah, or something like.
Yeah.
Dank. It's dank.
Yeah.
It's dank.
Rank works too.
Yeah, rank or dank. It just sounds like something you'd say for a bad smell. If there's anything about me that's mildly disciplined, is I'll go, I'm not going to say it now. I'm going to wait.
Yeah,
and I don't even.
Of that.
And that's what you do with Mark Wahlberger. You're like, that's sort of funny. I'm going to go here. And then sometimes you go like, I remember somebody telling me a movie pitch where they were like, it wasn't my movie. I have no ownership of this movie, and it didn't end up getting made. But they were like, a baby gets left at a frat house. It's only ever known a frat house. It gets raised in a frat house, and the movie is about Will Ferrell, and he's a baby that was raised in a frat house, and you call it Frat Boy. And I was like, well, that's a movie. Like that. Yeah. Like it just is a movie.
Yeah, you can tell. Yeah,
Mank is a throwaway. Make my wife laugh. Frat Boy is a movie, and the great thing about doing stand-up, doing improv, doing sketch, and writing movies and writing TV is you can go like, whatever it is, we can honor whatever it is. It might be a tweet. Like, it sort of sucks. You have a great joke, and you're like, I think that's a tweet. I thought it was really funny to that my rap name was Desmond Tutu. Like two twos, not Desmond Tutu, but Desmond 2.2. Right. I was like, but like, think about Tropic Thunder, right? His rap name is Alpha Chino. Right. And that's so funny. Where did that come from? That came from a writer who probably at some point was like Alpha Chino, haha, and just put it in his bullshit folder.
Yeah, right.
And that's a good improv joke, and that's a good make your wife laugh Mank joke, or it's a Mark Wahlberger joke. But you need lots of different baskets or folders or in your brain to be like, that's where the jokes go. And I even have them in my phone app or whatever. It'll be like story ideas, something absurd that happened.
Oh yeah, I have every note in my phone just starts with sketch idea, and then there's one. There's usually one, and then I start a new file for everything. But it does suck to be in that, like when you're writing at Second City when we'd write a new show, and it's just like you look at everything in life and you like, it takes the joy out of life in a way sometimes when you're trying to make a sketch out of everything. Like you're out at a bar, somebody laughs and you go, why'd you laugh? Why? How can we force that so that I can make it into a sketch later?
What is it?
Yeah.
You're like a lunatic, Chris.
A serial killer lunatic goes like, oh, I said these words and it made someone trust me. How can I do that on the night? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's insane.
But then you're trying that idea out like the next night, and you find out pretty quickly if it's actually a sketch idea or just something that maybe you should have enjoyed and just enjoyed your life.
But here, and the next real nickel in the pickle of comedy is one of the jokes that I did on Faces and Sounds was unicorn. I go, unicorn, more. What about unihorn? It has one horn. It has no corn. The words aren't that funny. I did that at an open mic when I was probably 6 years into comedy. And you just don't know how to... I really feel like the difference between me and even somebody that's like really funny on TikTok is I'm like, okay, the person on TikTok could wait for the perfect mood. I'm sure you guys...
Right.
When you're manic, when you're fucking me, you could make anything funny. Anything funny.
Yeah, I see
like
what you're saying.
You could just be funny. And that's what Ram Dass said to me. He was like, don't do comedy, be funny. Like, become funny. And that's what I try to do. So my job as a stand-up is to try to manufacture the alchemy of a good mood at 8 o'clock tonight. That's what I'll be doing.
Yeah.
And that's
it is funny the ways that also like Peter and I will do our shows, and if you're not feeling it that night, then you start to like, well, I know that if I fake a little smile here, if I like crack up, if I say this phrase as if I'm like feeling comedy and even though I'm in a bad mood, it makes everybody follow along with you. It's a cheat in improv to like fake break if you're
Of course.
But it's also
I don't
kind
know
of
why they don't do it
sucks.
more.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Like
also
so
kind of
many
a
SNL
feedback loop.
sketches I watch, I'm just like, if they like when they fake laugh, then the rest of the sketch benefits.
I know.
Or,
Yeah, I agree.
Or at least
yeah.
be hesitant, like as if you can't say the line. And I understand that is a cheat, but like
Yeah.
the whole thing is a cheat. I'm reheating something that made me laugh 4 months ago. This is fake.
Yeah.
It's show business. It's a show. It's pretend, but it's beautiful, and the laugh can be real. That's why there's certain moments in my act where I'll laugh every time.
Yeah.
But I'm really trying to get into the space where I can
Where
find
you
it
are
funny.
laughing, right?
And it'll actually make me laugh. But like sometimes I don't. You're doing the second show on a Friday, and you're just like, I'm going into my bag of tricks, because in this moment, you guys laughing is more important than me feeling like an authentic, like, what does my authentic feeling get anybody other than me? Like, I get to go home and be like, nothing can shake me. Fuck me. Comedy is about dissolving. It can be. It's also deeply narcissistic and self-centered.
Of course.
But
We covered that.
But it can also be mutually beneficial. You can be serviced and they're being serviced. It's like a 69. It should be like a 69.
Comedy's a 69. Well, it's like when a joke dies on you, sometimes you just said it the same way all the time, and then it's dead now. All of a sudden, nobody laughs the same. It's because you're.
That's right.
The joy for you is gone.
Yeah,
That's right.
You can just
the
feel that.
discovery is gone.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's what I did with Unicorn. So I didn't know how to do that joke, and I was saying it. I was just saying it, and then I figured out how to get into a state of comedy, to be comedy. And then you're like, oh, I think if I yell this, it's like a really absurd thing to yell this point, and to be really. The word was incredulous. I'd go unicorn. It has one horn. I can't even remember the joke, but like the attitude of incredulity, it would make it funny. And I had to learn that in my 15th year of stand-up or whatever. It was the attitude mattered. So we can't get too caught in going like, they didn't laugh, it wasn't funny. So many old jokes. And then when you're writing a script, you'll be writing it and you go like, oh, fuck, that wasn't a stand-up joke. That's why it didn't work. It's a scene. It's something you say in a scene. But they're all in there. And that's when you get in the flow state of writing. I was writing a script yesterday, just taking notes, because I wasn't working, but I took note. And I just was talking about how I had the characters start talking about how people who are really into Disney, like adults who are really into Disney, are sort of weird in the same way that adults who are really into Michael Jackson. Like it's that same sort of like
same
child, like, I don't know, they don't want to let something go, or they just want to be very similar. It's probably just because of Neverland now that I think about it. But I was like, I've never been able to make that work on stage, but I can put it in the mouth of this character, and it won't necessarily be LOL, but it'll at least inform, this guy judges everybody. This guy is judging everybody. So all of that is to say, here's the best way I can answer your question, Peter, I think, is I was like, of course you want to make, I love Girls, the show Girls. I wanted to make a dramedy like that. I love that feel. And I was like, I think I have a dramedy in me. And I was like, okay, everybody keeps telling me what's interesting about me. I got married when I was 22. My wife left when I was 28. And I was raised in the church. I thought I was going to be a youth pastor, and then I became a comedian. Okay, that's what I got. But that's not a pitch. That's a bad pitch. It's about a guy. Here's the real, I feel like this is real gold, I think. Pitches need an engine. They need something that insists that it's episodic. And the great thing, the advice isn't just have an engine, is know that the engine can blow up. It's the same with podcasts. Mark Maron's podcast. 3 what the fuck moments. 3 moments in your life where you said what the fuck. That's gone.
Oh, yeah, right.
Weird. What are 3 things or 5 things, whatever, that are weird about you? Like, and would do like a pre-interview, and I'd ask you a little bit about what's weird about you.
Yeah.
That's gone.
Even this, for that example of like, we're going to do a different podcast every time. And
like,
we do it occasionally. Now
That's right.
we do it occasionally.
And it'll fade more and more and more. But that was the engine that made you guys think it's a podcast, because what did that do for you? That made you go, I can see why this insists on being episodic. So you're just trying to infect someone else with the vision of the illusion of episodicness.
I love that.
Yeah.
When I was like, oh, wait, he doesn't have any money and he has to stay at a different friend's house, a different comedian's friend's house every episode. And I was like, that's a show. That was the light bulb moment.
Right, yeah.
And then if you watch, meaning you have the feeling, I could sell that. I could tell someone. It's like a metaphor. It's not exactly what the show will be, but it's what I'll tell you that will make you know that it's a show. It's not exactly literally true, because if you watch the show, we drop that conceit. And Judd even said that. He was like, that's how we'll sell it. But then as it goes, you'll just be doing a show. But you can't sell, we'll just be doing a show.
Right,
you can sell every episode we're doing this. So whenever a friend of mine pitches me a show or whatever, you want that engine. You want something that it's usually backing the story up. It's like you're starting too evolved. You know too much. And we move the needle back to the first track of the record. Maybe not the first track, but the second or third. And you're starting it like you're doing what Del Close said, and you're improvising at the height of your intelligence. But can we make it so you don't know how to meet a woman, or you don't know how to do stand-up, or you don't, so we can watch you fucking do it?
Yes. Yeah. That's awesome.
But that's what we want to see, right?
I was sort of wondering in that show, in your show, the relationship, I think your parents and your girlfriend, I think it's in the last season, right? Your girlfriend at the time, and then she's sort of having a really loud orgasm at home.
Yeah.
Is that like that was one of the moments where I was like, I wonder if that did that happen? I guess is my question.
Your question is, did that happen? Let's talk about it.
Yeah.
Okay, so one of the ways that I think like trying to reconcile the Bible, I know, I know.
He's like, hang on, Chris, hang on. We'll get there. We'll get there.
Stay with me. One of the things that did was it introduced me to symbolic storytelling, which is what the Bible is, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Maybe some of it is literally true, maybe all of it, who knows? But like what the author's intent was to give you a feeling, was to give you an experience. And that's all mythology. That's what, like, the Greeks didn't believe necessarily in a literal, we think they did, but that's not necessarily how religious literature works. So anyway, what we're dealing with is like, what is the heart of the matter, and then what really happened, but what did it feel like? Yeah. So what really happened was I was dating a woman who was very free sexually. Mm-hmm. I think that's wonderful. It was one of the best things about her. She just wasn't ashamed. And I was very ashamed. And I just didn't know what to do with someone like that. It was challenging at times. I was threatened for sure. And it's not my speed. I don't want to drive a Corvette. Like, I can't handle it. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not a Corvette guy. I don't want a Corvette. I want like the van from Dumb and Dumber. I want the dog van.
Yeah.
Like a friendly van. But anyway, so what I'm saying is my parents met this woman. It's in the show. They did tell her to put on a bra. So that made the show.
Yeah.
That was almost verbatim. And that argument really? I had with my mom where I said, how would I feel? And I said this to my mom. I can't believe it. How would I feel if I met her parents and they said, your jeans are too tight, I can see your cock? I said that angrily to my mom. It was like one of the only raise your voice fights I've ever had with my mom. It was because I was trying to defend the honor of my girlfriend and be like, that is valid. Like, it's not like us, but she can be who she wants.
Yeah.
And I remember because my parents were visiting, she had a stripper pole. I know. She had a stripper pole in her apartment. And I remember she was also just a very powerful person. I was very intimidated by her. Again, I can't handle a Corvette. And but I said, look, my parents are coming. Can we take down your stripper pole? It was the kind you could take down.
Yeah.
And she was like, are you crazy? Of course. Like, I would have taken it down. I don't want your parents to see a stripper pole. So she took it down. Then we go out. They tell her to put on a bra. I have a fight with my mom. And then this actually feels like an episode of TV. That day, I'm so mad at my parents for not understanding me, for not understanding my desire to be a sexual person, my new girlfriend who you disrespect. We get back to her apartment, and I, like a play, go in her closet, get the stripper pole, and reinstall it to be like, this is you, and I am not ashamed.
Get ready, parents.
Mom over.
And
take a look at this. Yeah,
that's all good. I think the reason we didn't do that, because that does sound like an episode of TV. I want like a moment at the beginning. Can we take down your stripper pole? And I want that moment at the end. I put your stripper pole back up and say, fuck you to my parents. that does feel like an episode of TV. We probably talked about doing it that way. And then we go, well, how many people are we going to lose that she has a stripper pole? Like, I think that might have been a consideration.
Oh, okay.
I was always pitching the truth to Judd, and it was usually something about me, and he would be like, it's just too weird. I understand that your mom kisses you on the lips and sits on your lap, but it's too weird. So we're going to tone it down. So then what game you're playing is, how can we convey the truth of it, the mythic core of it, without the details that might alienate or just might not make sense to people.
Yeah.
You know, I had never seen a stripper pole, and I don't know what I would have thought of a girl who had a stripper pole. You'd be like, I don't know.
Or
so
you'd just be like, oh, that's too far. Like they've taken the character too far.
Maybe, yeah.
Something.
Or you just don't buy it. You'd be like,
Yeah.
that seems fake or whatever.
Yeah.
Or it seems like my problem with Curb. It's like, oh, Pete's dating a sexy girl, and his idea of what a sexy girl is that she has a stripper pole. It's like, fucking get over yourself. So sometimes reality is too weird to translate into 22 minutes, 28 minutes of TV. So we also wanted to marry it with the idea that we go home for a holiday. I forget what it is. So then we were like, well, the core of it is, there's a moment where you say to your parents, I don't care what you think. I know you raised me to be a good boy, but I'm sexual. And she, and I still feel this way about this woman, she really did break me out of a prison of sorts. It was like, she sort of broke me out with like big band and like tassels and just being an empowered Marilyn Monroe. You know what I mean? Smoking. Yeah. She smoked cigarettes. She made drinks for me all the time. It was like a Mad Men girlfriend. But she broke me out, even though it didn't work, and there was suffering involved, and we didn't see eye to eye on a lot of things. She did jailbreak me. So I was like, how do we do that? She would come in, so it's her doing it, and have a performative, like, on purpose, too loud, in your mom's house orgasm.
Right, yeah.
And the other example that you don't need, because I think you guys understand, is I didn't walk in on my wife cheating, but we want to, like, devastate the audience, and that's why you see it. You see affairs conveyed with catching. Why is that? It's not a cliche, it's a trope. It can be cliche if done badly, but it's a trope for a reason, is because how does it feel to find out your wife is having an affair? Well, it feels like walking in on them. Emotionally, it feels like walking in on them. What really happened? She sat me down and she explained that she was in love with somebody. That's just not as good. So we want a metaphor. We don't say it's like walking in on your wife having sex with someone else. You say he did walk in on someone else having sex.
Well, it's sort of the efficiency of comedy in storytelling, but also the same thing with stand-up. It's like, how quickly can you get to the point you're trying to make? Similar in filmmaking. You're like, how do I get the audience to the thing I'm trying to get them to feel?
That's right. And stand-up is a really good... Getting back into it tonight, I was like, the one thing that I wonder if I'm able to do is like really chop through the nonsense. When you watch like a new stand-up, I really mean like their first, second time, you'll just see them really belaboring like what's true or all the details. You can really... The way I describe it is you can feel them breaking into your house. Like they're slowly lifting the window. They're coming in. They're taking your TV. They're like, nothing to see here. And like a good stand-up really just kicks in the door and takes the TV before you really know what happened. And that's exciting.
Right, yeah.
You're
surprise you.
My TV's gone. This is great.
Cool.
You don't want a burglar that's like, I'm not usually like this.
Yeah.
I used to work at H&R Block. You know, now I'm a cat burglar. Like, we don't need that. Just get to the part where you say the thing.
You're just in the doorway checking your phone. Like, you want to
say the joke.
Yeah, just get the TV and go. Let's go.
Right.
Yeah. I love that.
Like
One thing
go ahead.
I was just going to say one takeaway too that I took from that whole piece about when I was talking about translating this into film and TV. There was one thing you said a ways back that was like getting yourself into a state of comedy. And I think that's maybe touching on like kind of my problem with trying to make TV or web series type stuff, is that I'm very used to, Chris and I are very used to getting into people into a state, like a live audience, and getting into a state of that sort of performance. So what I need to learn how to do, or what if you're trying to make TV or try a different kind of comedy, is what you need to do is figure out what is that state of funny, and how do you get a film set? How do you get a set into funny mode?
Right.
I think that's really right on. You also remember that on the day it'll be better because there'll be an audience. It might be the sound guy and the camera people and all this stuff. But like you write it, that's why like, I don't know if you've ever noticed, like, if somebody's deeply troubled and you're like, really? They seem so happy. And they go, well, he was a writer. They're like, oh, right. It's because writing is sort of insanity. It's like a culturally agreed upon okay way to talk to yourself. That's sort of why I'm making fun of Larry, is because I think as a writer, I can feel him really being like, and then he says this, and then I say this, and then he says, but then I go, and I'm like, it shines a light on my own discomfort with the fact that so when I was making Crashing, I was really trying very, very, very hard to represent the other people. I was trying to let my ex-wife win the point. I was trying to humiliate me or not,
because if you're not careful, it just becomes exactly what you would have wanted to to do in real life. Like you're reenacting your fantasy.
It's a
I love that
grotesque
character
fantasy.
of the husband, she's being cheated. The new husband, the new boyfriend, George Basil. I'm like, that's such a great character because he's like the best. He's the best guy.
Take that. Take that yourself.
This is full circle. So Judd was like, he should be a hippie. Right? Yeah. I don't know what my idea was. Mine was probably reality. I was like, the guy that my ex ended up with was a great guy, is probably a great guy. And I liked him and he was likable. And Judd was like, you should make him like the best guy in the world. And you should make him like really into tantric sex and all this hippie stuff.
Everything you don't want.
To you guys and the towel and me and Chris Farley doing Bill Murray. I watched Forgetting Sarah Marshall. Jason Segel did my podcast recently. So I watched Forgetting Sarah Marshall again, which Judd produced.
Right.
The similarities are insane. There's the walk-in. Yeah. They don't walk in on them having sex, but there's male nudity, like comedy male nudity, very similar to George.
Yeah.
He's a likable guy. It literally has a moment where Peter, the guy's name is Peter, in Forgetting Sarah Marshall, says, "Fuck, you're cool. Like, why do I like you?" And they become unlikely friends. That's exactly what we did on Crashing. And what is happening here? Why is Judd ripping himself off?
You're like, Judd, come on.
And I think it's because we're back to how we feel when we binge shows. We binge Friday Night Lights. And we don't remember the plot. And we don't necessarily even remember specific jokes. Jokes can be stickier. So a master like Judd knows, or like you guys kind of doing my voice, you know that what you're in service of is a feeling and laughter way more than the feeling of like, and I'm sure Charlie Kaufman has this feeling and he's one of my favorites, but he's like, ain't nobody like me. That's great, but it doesn't really help. It doesn't help me. It doesn't always help me. And comedy is much more philanthropic. It's so much more like, yeah, we've seen Old School. He walks in on his wife having a sex. We've seen this. So, but then we like it again. So what does this tell us? It tells us that the point isn't necessarily utter novelty in every element. It's that like we want a new way to experience something. We want the feeling. We want the feeling. Why do you see so many virgin births in religious literature or death and resurrection? It's not about the plot. It's not about the plot.
It's like, ooh, that feels good. That feels good. Yeah. That's right. It matches. I love that. Yeah. Well, and that's the science of it. So maybe like Jed is kind of experimenting with that formula again, like seeing what other math he can like come out with.
I haven't said that to him and I don't know what he would say, but I imagine that he doesn't waste too much time. And I've been in writers' rooms where people do this, where they go like, ugh, they did that on Community.
All right.
And they just stop everything.
Yeah,
and you
totally.
guys know as
Everything's done.
improvisers.
Yeah.
Everything's done.
I'm one of those for sure. I'll admit to that. I'd love to be less that, but it always just, because there's like an integrity thing or something that I'm wrong about, but there's in my head, I'm just like, but I don't want to do that joke. As soon as I know where it's from.
You're not wrong. You know what I mean? It really is. It really is in between. It really is in between. Like, when I was writing Crashing, wasn't thinking, oh, wow, this is a lot like Forgetting Sarah Marshall. And that was good. I think if I had realized that, I might have gone to Judd and been like, wait, I think that's a little too much like Russell Brand. I don't know what he would have said, but it was sort of like, and I do that too. I do that with my own ideas. I had a date sequence going to the Griffith Observatory in a thing I was writing. I was like, wait, this is La La Land. They do this in La La Land. So I'll self-censor.
Right.
You just don't, it's a bell curve. Everything's a bell curve. You don't want to do it so much that you can't write. You're paralyzed with fear.
Yeah.
That's why I'm a big believer in like flash drafts, writing things quickly. Yeah. And then when it comes to like selling, I want to hear what's the idea that's your movie? I just want to see if I can twist it.
Do it, Peter. Do you
what
have
right
it?
now? Wait, which one?
You got multiples?
I have one that I really want to make, but I don't even know if I want to say it out loud yet. I'm
We've
trying to
had
make
one
it like
forever.
pressure cook. Yeah, do
We've
it.
had an idea. So we made a web series pilot out of it, and I feel like we're aging into it better. But it would just be like the Hardy Boys grown up, and we call it Hardly Men, and they're old. And I feel like, sure, that might be out there. That could have been already done for sure. Right. But what makes ours different would be that we have a Scooby-Doo moment at the beginning of the whole thing where we go to rip the person's mask off to see who it really is.
And they don't have a mask?
They don't have a mask. It's just his skin. And we kill him. We rip his face off. And then that's the beginning. And then it's basically Fargo from that moment on. We're running from the police.
Because you killed somebody?
Because we killed somebody. We killed the guy.
I think the fun of the show, of that idea, is Chris and I. It's like seeing these two innocent boys that are just like trying to solve little innocent boy crimes, but we're now in our 40s, and just things didn't quite work out. And that's the dream for me. Is like, I still believe in that one, and it's tricky though. It's like what you said, where it's like you almost want to be like, this is the idea, and somebody's like, okay, I kind of get it. And you're like, no, but the real hook is it's gonna be funny.
Right.
You're like, you can't. That's not a pitch. You can't be like, it's going to have our jokes in it.
Or the idea of like, well, that sounds done, but okay, well, we haven't done it yet. No one's seen us do that idea,
right?
So it's different because it's us. And you're like,
do you want to hear my
do it.
off the cuff thoughts?
Yeah,
I think it's really funny. It's like as soon as first thought, real simple. I wouldn't call it Hardly Men because I think that would make. Like your podcast, it's called This Time It's Different.
Yeah.
Which luckily is like What the Fuck or You Made It Weird. It's just like an excerpt from an argument.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you made it weird. No. This time it's different. What the fuck?
Yeah.
So that's evergreen, and that's okay. So that's why I like it. Hardly Men is funny, and it's a Hardy Boys spin, but it marries it too much for me. I would call it. I would convey the self-importance of the two characters in the title. I would call it like the Scarlet Diamond objective. More like the Kingsman. You know what I mean? You want it to be like the joke is that they take themselves very seriously, and it also makes it a little bit itchy, meaning like what is the Scarlet Diamond Collective? Obviously that's not it.
No, we're going to take that. We're doing that.
Two idiots. I'm also trying to picture the poster, and it's you two idiots like doing something Scooby-Doo-ish. Yeah. The other thing is I love that it opens with a Scooby-Doo thing. It's so improv-y. I don't mean that to put it down.
No, I get
like that you're like, and then we kill him. Are you serious that then you're on the run?
I think so. I think that would be.
No, I don't. That is a really funny theater piece or a really funny sketch.
Yeah.
But a series is you have this cold open that's at the end of a case, and it is Scooby-Doo, and you're just trying to rip an old man's face off, but you can't. And the whole thing falls apart, and so it's just a laugh at the beginning.
Yeah.
Now, and this is so LA. If your guys' pitch is so sketch, what I'm about to say is so LA.
I can't wait.
I want to know why you guys are stunted. I want to know what you're actually trying to heal in yourselves. I want to know about your relationship. I want to know like that your brothers, one of you is adopted. I want to know your brothers and you've always been competitive, or your stepbrothers, or your weird neighbor boys. I kind of like that one.
Yeah,
you were weird neighbor boys, and you did this when you were kids.
Yeah.
And this is a bad pitch. Then you got divorced, or you lost your job. You see, these are the hooks of like emotion driven.
Yeah, I like that.
You lose your jobs, and you don't know what to do, so you decide to solve mysteries, but really you're running from your issues.
Absolutely. And maybe like I was thinking too of like a montage of newspaper clippings from like when we were boys, you know, and we solved.
Yeah, you were good.
Yeah, we may
really
solve some
good.
like a couple of missing bikes here and there or something like that, some stolen bikes we solved. And that was the only time in our lives when we felt like we were valuable or valued. Yeah. So we're like trying to race back to that.
And here's the other one. Like, what is your attitude towards getting the Diamond Scarlet Collective together? Does Chris really want to do it and Peter doesn't? Like, now we have some conflict. It's like he's trying. So the pilot is, we know you're going to do it because it opens with this funny cold open. Then it says 6 months earlier, or 6 weeks earlier. And he's tracking you down, and like real bad pitch, but like you sabotage. Chris, you sabotage your job and get you fired. and you're like, what was that?
Yeah.
And he's like, now we can do it. And it's like, wait, that was you? And you're fighting and you're mad. So you're doing it, but you're pissed. Like, we just want to infuse it with as much emotion and attitude as possible. That's why I'm being really
love that.
LA.
Yeah.
Anybody with a pitch would be like, okay, I hear the plot. I also just think if you're ripping somebody's face off, it's now you're in absurdity. And then you're jumping to Fargo, which is sort of graphic, but it's very realistic. It's like a real world. So if you're ripping somebody's face off, now we're Rick and Morty, and it's a very different sort of.
It's
and then we need to stay there. Those are stakes that we have to like stay in, I guess.
Yeah, like to
always
if you're
holding
ripping
this
faces
guy's
off,
face skin. Yeah.
Yeah, physically
face
stay
skin
in the
in my
stakes.
back pocket all the whole movie. Yeah.
if you're ripping faces off, then you could just have a detective agency. You know what I mean? Like, if we're already buying that, and then this is the own. They did it on Community. I know, bored to death. He's like a neighborhood. He's solving neighborhood crimes.
Oh, that's right.
So you just have to decide how you're gonna like tonally be different from that.
Yeah.
And maybe it is like Scooby-Doo or whatever.
Well, I really like your idea of like flash writing a draft too. Just like making sure it gets out there so that you can look at it, step back and look at it.
That's right.
And not bail them halfway through.
If you're like, here, like the thing that connects me to it is if you guys are like just frustrated with life and you miss when you were kids, like, what is getting in a van and solving mysteries? It's living. It's like really doing stuff. It's going places. It's helping people. It's meeting people. And it's adventure. So you guys, like, I would open it to show just how frustrated you both are. It's basically like the lore of Blink-182. I don't think it's true. But they were like, Blink-182, they used to work in offices, and they were just like, fuck it, let's be in a punk band. Like, now it's like an allegory for following your dreams, even though it's absurd. Yeah. And now I want to see scenes where now I want to meet your mother, and she thinks it's insane that you're doing, or like it gets a little Adam Sandler Happy Madison, but it's like there's a clock on it. One of you is supposed to take over your dad's business. Now I see a season. Like, Chris has to decide if he's going to keep having the most fun he's ever had, or is he going to be the heir to his father's brake pad company? That's literally Tommy Boy.
Yeah.
But like, why is that happening? Why do we need something that they're saving? Or Happy Gilmore is a good example. He needs to get the money to save his grandma's house. Like, those are engines. That's what we're talking about. The engine of
the
like
engine.
What
Yeah,
doing.
I love that.
And the engine of fighting a very relatable. Like, wait, this is life? Like, like
this is all we're supposed to do? Yeah.
We just go to work and then what? And now I do like it when you sabotage him at his job to force him to join the collective.
Anyway, been writing all this down. This should have been. Well, wait, we're literally recording it. Never mind.
Yeah, we have it verbatim.
I this is not me blessing you with a favor. I love talking about show ideas.
Yeah.
And it's because it's one of the I just have clear opinions about it. So it's like a pleasure to kind of ping the ball around in that space. So, but I think it's a good idea. I think it could be really funny.
Well, I hope you like getting an email every month.
Yeah, let's
Updated script.
here it is. Flash draft 1. Yeah, coming your way.
Thoughts? Question mark. That's all that's in the subject line. Thoughts?
There's no body. It's just a document.
Yeah, just PDF. And thoughts?
Oh shit! But there's people listening that are like, I really like the face ripoff. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
Right.
you just have to decide. Then that, like, it reminds me of a comic book I read when I was a kid about a Superman type who has such super strength that he's always accidentally killing people. Like, he's just trying to kind of grab somebody, but he crushes their body, and everybody sort of loves it because they're bad people, but he really is conflicted. So if you like that pitch, that's great, and then just stay at that pitch. Like movies like Pineapple Express, where it's like, are they going to be killing people? Like, are they going to shoot people?
Yeah.
And you go,
Like, oh,
yes.
they went there. Yeah.
And then that tone drips into the whole story.
I mean, to be honest,
comedy
I've,
violence.
you say the pitch real quick. This one's been around for a while, and we just never do anything with it. But I'll say the pitch, and I'll be going along. They're Hardy Boys. They're grown up, and then I get to the skin rip-off part, and then people are just like, oh, like it doesn't get the laugh that I think it should.
Right.
Because to me,
I think someone's
very funny.
tugging on a face.
Yeah.
Tugging
a
on a
very
face funny.
frustrated.
Yeah.
But
older
to Pete's point, like maybe that's like, oh, okay, that's somewhere else in the quiver. Like, well, take that out and we'll put that back here for, a joke somewhere else, or
Yeah.
a
Or it's
tweet?
a dream. I mean, like, I see like you can see it too. It's like a CGI and somebody really maps out the blood spatter on the floor.
Yeah.
And now I'm no longer watching a show about two friends who solve mysteries. And then, you really have to go against the idea. You're going to want to have the idea that they get involved in a mystery that is way bigger than their pay grade.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Like it's basically Stranger Things at that point.
yeah.
They really are doing it. And that's a lot of horror movies and a lot of great movies. But like, is there something like the reason you can pitch Seinfeld and be like, it's a show about nothing. You can be like, no, the joke is they're really just doing nonsense. And now you're in sort of like a high maintenance thing where it's like, yeah, they deliver weed, but really it's about the people that they meet. And they're
same thing with
falling in
Seinfeld.
love, or one of you is an alcoholic, or like you're solving your human problems. We're back to our original point of the whole conversation. The plot isn't the point. It's about watching people figure something out.
Yeah. And no, but I like the engine. I think the engine is like the very first thing almost to figure out with a pitch before you want to take it anywhere. You gotta be like, make sure you're dead set on your engine. Like you just like really know exactly how to sell that engine.
And then know that you can drop it. Like
And
when you
then
guys
drop
start
it, of course.
shooting it, and like you realize, like George is a good example. George was so funny that Judd was like, well, the finale has to be you end up with George. We didn't have that mapped out.
Right.
But that's the luxury of working with Judd is you can be like, we don't know how the first season.
We'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out.
But you guys would figure it out too. Like as you start shooting it, and like there's the woman in the pet shop that you investigate, even though she doesn't want you to, and she's so funny. You're just like, well,
Why don't we go back?
do more with
of
her.
course.
Yeah.
But that's on its feet. Judd was always stopping us from writing too much.
Chris, we're losing you a bit.
You're losing me? Am I here?
Yeah. You're back now.
There you are.
I am in a basement, so like you can see what's going on here. It's pretty like pretty dank. It's a bit mank down here.
I can't believe you're on main stage. That to me was the thing. That was the dream. I was I used to fly to Chicago just to see the main. I'd just go and see the main stage show twice, and I'd see the ETC stage twice, and then I'd fly home with my poor first wife. I wonder why she left me. I was like, let's go to Chicago, and she's like, oh, and we'll go to Wrigley Field. No, we're just gonna go to Old Town.
It sort of was like
I wonder why.
It was a job that like once I got to Toronto, I was like, it was on my list to try and do, but you just sort of audition for anything and see what happens. But then I was offered it, and But now it's sort of been a lackluster
cool.
exit from main stage because the pandemic hit and we were like right in the middle of writing. I was gonna write I did 4 shows, so I did the time. Like I feel like that experience happened.
Yeah.
But it was sort of like we're in the middle of writing that last show, and I was like, I'm gonna do one more, and then.
Right
The
into the
lore,
penny.
you're like, I want to leave my mark on this,
Yeah.
on this
You
building.
wrote
And
pinata full of bees?
exactly, yeah, exactly like that. And then it's just sort of the rugs yanked out, and you're like, oh, well, now I'm
Done.
and during the pandemic anyway, that building that Second City Toronto was in, they're going to be renovating, moving to a new space. But since the pandemic, now that building has been collapsed for condos, and now it's like there isn't a physical Second City Toronto right now.
Wow.
So even when it comes back, who knows?
Oh man.
And who knows if I go back to it?
Yeah, that's
like
not
it's
good.
becoming such a long time that it's like, I don't know.
It's a bummer not to get to say goodbye to that historical space too, in a way.
That is a bummer. It's like UCB was doing that all over, and whenever they would move, I mean, I don't want to be unkind. I'm sure they tried, but the new spaces were always like, was this the only one available? Like, I don't understand.
totally.
Like, you're a performer. Like, why would you pick a long, narrow space? Like, it makes no sense.
Right, yeah.
Well, I didn't mean to have this become Papa Pete's advice-a-thon.
No.
But there's
I like it.
I love when you realize, like I did cartoons for the New Yorker, and after I got 4 cartoons in the New Yorker, I was like, there's no difference between 4 and 40.
Totally.
Like, to most people.
Oh, I see
Yeah.
what you're saying.
You just, I now get to say, if I wanted to, I am a New Yorker cartoonist. And once I realized that I had already been like, so everywhere you go, you were on the main stage at Second City. You don't want it to be once. That could have been a fluke. So you've done it a
Right.
bunch. Same
Yeah.
with the
Yeah.
cartoons. And then you're just like, I think, and this was true so the Doctor sketches I mentioned earlier, I had so many rejected New Yorker cartoons that they became the Doctor series.
Oh, yeah. Right.
And I was literally going like, these ideas that you're rejecting, and that maybe the ideas that this, I'm sure you can't get all your ideas in.
Yeah.
I think I can just run with these, tell people I was in Second City main stage, and then just use these ideas as I see fit. That's
Yeah.
really the reason. It's not advice. I just wanted to empower you in that way. It's like it's happened. Whatever
you
is
did
good
it.
has happened,
and
now
I
you
feel
can-
good. Like there was just like there's the classic like when you've done your show, then you get your last show, and then
Yeah.
the set after you do the show can just be any sketch that I wanted to do from the history of what I've done. So you just kind of extra
A victory lap.
victory lap.
Yeah.
So everybody gets that, and I was like, oh, all I wanted to do one more time was that asshole magician flipping the bird off and yelling magic at the crowd, just once more. But
Yeah.
I mean, I also did it like 300 times.
Oh, that's what you
So
mean
it's
is
like-
you didn't get to do your swan song.
There was no
That's-
swan song. There's no like little bow to tie
Oh,
on
I'm
the
still
experience.
mad. I'm still a little hurt that my last improv show at my college, this is so humiliating to tell you this, that it hurt my feelings. But I went away my first semester of my senior year. I was abroad. And then when I came back, my friend Daniel was teaching. He was coaching the improv team. He had taken over for me. And I always thought it was so funny that I was like very sharp and could explain improv. And Daniel was just beloved. I'm not saying he wasn't sharp, but if my number one was sharpness, his number one was everyone likes me, I'm beloved, I'm fun, and I'm goofy, and it was just fun. So his last show, I got back in time to see their last show. So I think I'm like some Martin Sheen character in the back
Yeah.
watching my babies, and they do the show. And then they bring Daniel flowers. He gets a
Yeah.
standing ovation because he was leaving. Not just the theater, but he was going to a different school. But it was his last show, and literally was given a bouquet of flowers, like a
Oh my
Looney
God.
Tunes cliche. And I'm like, wow, okay. I guess that's what we do for our beloved directors on our last shows. I come in, I started insisting everyone read Truth and Comedy. I tell everyone to read Impro by Keith Johnstone. I'm getting all technical. I'm really trying to turn them into me was my problem. I was like, be like me. I didn't know how to graciously love and support what they were. So I was a little bit more hard-nosed, I guess. And then I do my last show, and I really was like a little bit of an improv celebrity at my college. It was like, it was clear that I was good at improv and people liked it.
Yeah.
And here's my last show. And at the end of the show, I walked off the stage and it was done.
Yeah, all right. Okay.
No hugs, no beloved, like maybe one of the other people like patted me on the back or something, but it still honked in my craw. I was like, Daniel got flowers. And that's when I was like, I think it's in the Tao Te Ching. It's like a leader who's feared is not good. It's like a leader who's loved. And the best kind of leader is one that you don't even notice. Everyone will go do the job and be like, we did it ourselves. And he's like, the second best leader is one who is loved. And then like further down the list is like one who is feared. I think I was going for like the feared, like I'm the best. And he was loved.
The expert, right.
It's way better. Way better. You got more accomplished being loved, I think.
Do you think there was some sad conversation about the bouquet? Like, are we doing bouquet this time around? They're like, let's forego bouquet.
But this
That's so
is
sad.
Like,
that was mean.
No, I loved it. This is the problem that you can run into when you do feel autonomous. Everyone sort of assumes you're good. The same thing would happen when you wrapped the pilot for Crashing. Nobody's like, here's your cake and we love you. Because everybody's like, he made the show. He starred in the show. He did the thing. He's good. And I'm sure they were like, he was in the shows. He was the funny and he got the glory. We don't need to get this fucker a cake.
But you know what?
Like he's probably going to buy his own cake. And based on what they knew about me, they were right to assume that I was probably going to a party with other people eating a cake that they couldn't eat. Like it's you got to be honest. If you want a cake, be vulnerable enough to look like a person who needs a cake.
But then that's the problem, because that's the like part where the double edge to that sword is now if you do something and everyone's super appreciative and gives you a cake after, you're like, no, I was good.
Yes. I mean, right?
Like, you made it. You got through that.
It's called cake Crashing. Descending. Are you being cake descending right now? You don't give, if someone's really the best, you don't give them a cake.
Yeah,
at least that's what I tell myself when I'm bowling in my own private There Will Be Blood bowling alley. Yeah. I don't have a bowling alley.
You've got the sauna though. That's the
sauna.
start.
Yeah.
You've got the sauna.
I cry in my sauna. Let's be honest. These boards could be made into a bowling alley.
I was trying to do a joke, There Will Be Blood joke, but I can't remember his big line when he's in the bowling alley.
I drink your milkshake. Yeah.
Was that when he was in the bowling alley? I thought it was something about my son, my baby.
Oh, that's
my beautiful
that's the
baby.
Baptism. I abandoned my boy.
Oh yeah.
I abandoned my son. Like he finally says son.
I feel like that's you in the sauna. Yeah.
Well, that was my favorite movie for a long time.
That was a good
and
movie.
That's why I needed a different mythology. I had the Western just make it and just he says in that movie, he's like, I just want to make enough money so I can go into a house and be away from it all. And I was like, and that's what he gets. So we're not good judges all the time of what we actually want or what we
that's cool.
So you have to humble yourself to that and go like, it's not just about having enough money to tell people to fuck off. Like that's
money.
Howard Hughes stuff there.
Yeah.
I love that.
See, I feel like I made you guys talk longer than you wanted to. You wanted to be respectful of my time, but I'm like, I only talk in 2-hour chunks.
Well, thank you. I mean,
I'm messaging Chris right now like, this guy's not respecting our time.
It's like, I gotta go pee.
Our comedy hero is not respecting our time right now.
That's really nice.
But thank you so much for your time. This was awesome.
That was so
pleasure.
cool. Are you kidding me?
I don't even think I complimented you, Peter, because you stopped me. But the thing about taking, you were like, I take like 8 or 12 Alpha Brain, and then there was a specific phrase you said that I was listening to it with Val. I put it on with Val, And then you were like, and then I take like, I don't even know how you said I take the CBD. I'll eat a bunch of the CBD. And then the phrase you chose was so funny. It was something like,
I can't remember.
It was something like, and then see what happens. But it was funnier than that. It was like
whatever makes me become feeling very, very alpha, or
that was
something
that.
like
I
whatever
like
mixture of chemicals I'm peddling, or something like that. I can't remember.
I promise.
I do wish it wasn't called Alpha Brain. Let's be honest.
If they could change it, that'd be great.
Yeah,
they should just have a different product line that's the same thing, but with like a more palatable name. That's
For
more
hipsters.
like a hipster name.
Yeah, Beta Brain was right there, guys.
Just use Beta Brain.
Beta Brain. Yeah.
Alliteration.
I promise that that does not reflect my opinion of those products, as I've not tried them. I was just grasping at comedy straws. What is the thing to say in the moment?
And I actually felt you walking the tightrope of how do I make fun of this but not hurt this person's feelings.
We learned that a long time ago. I think we've said that on this podcast before, that Chris and I dabbled with being kind of roasty all the time. Like that was our main thing. In university, there was like an awards show and we were hosting it, and we ripped on one of the directors. We said we gave out the award for best comedy performance was to the director as the director of this play that was particularly poorly received. And so we said that he was so bad that was the best comedic performance we had seen.
Best
that year.
comedic performance is him as a director, and and then he came
huge
up to
laughs
me
by
after.
the way.
I mean, he came up to me after and he was like, "That wasn't very funny," and I was like, "Oh," and
Yeah,
I hold it. He didn't. He unfollowed me on Facebook too, so it's real.
I think it's interesting that we can't yet, as a species, be vulnerable enough to just be like, and say what he really meant, which was, that wasn't very nice. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or I was surprised that hurt my feelings. And the fact that it was funny made it so much worse.
The fact that everybody laughed was the worst.
I mean, if he said all of that to me, I would have. I wouldn't be alive today. I'd be like, no, this is broken.
But honestly, I think we're kind of fortunate that he said anything, or that we at least felt that it stung that person, because that gave us perspective on what to do with comedy. And it's like, it was like, I was bullied all through high school. It's like, I don't want to be one of those people that are getting laughs off somebody. I was like, oh no, I just want to be silly.
Yeah, it's dark, but I remember whenever, like, the reason I really want to make sure this is okay to say, but it's like the reason you shouldn't make jokes about sexual assault, and if you want a reminder, and I understand that some comedians, would really fight me on that. Mm-hmm. I remember Kumail said it to me after somebody was on stage doing a joke about sexual assault, and Kumail just looked at me and he goes, 1 out of 3? Like, meaning, look at the audience, and it's like 1 out of 3 women are survivors of sexual assault.
Right.
And like, there's so many women here, and you're just, that was the moment I had a joke, and I stopped doing it. It was very Pete Holmes. It was very light, but it sort of flirted with the idea, and I was just like, it's just not for me.
He's a bad taste, and you're just like,
Some comedians really do want to march you through hell, and in like an entertaining way, and be like, let's look at all of our blisters and pop them, and that can be, that's their thing. But I don't have I'm like you guys, I don't have the skin for that.
Well, and I also just feel, to be honest about it, not even fishing for somebody to be like, no, you could, but it's like, I don't think I have the tools. Or it's like, I think some comedians can manage that material. And I think the big lie that we've learned recently is that isn't the most accessible form of. I just feel like in the 90s or so, everybody was like, oh, that's what comedy is. Just saying spicy stuff.
Right.
And then we realized how many people we were hurting with that. And it's like, because that's not easy comedy. That's a select few should be able to manage that material and walk you somewhere with it.
Well, we used it on Crashing. It's something that I heard Christian Finnegan say. He was like, there's comedians that got called fag, and then there are comedians that called people that word.
Yeah. Right.
And I was like, oh my God. It's not alt and club. It's like, did you get called that name, or did you call people that name? That's sort of a better... We had the Lucas brothers say it to me in an episode of Crashing, and that was like a real like, oh my God, that's so true.
That's a good point. Yeah, no, I like that because comedians aren't all the same. We don't all have the same background. You're definitely going to run
when
into
we were
some
growing
folks.
up, we were like, I think I'm supposed to be Andrew Dice Clay. Like that's what comedy is I'll be like, look at your stupid fucking face, and I'm like, I don't know.
That's not for me. Yeah.
I think we just want comedians to be authentic, and there are certain people that can be dark, and you're like, but it feels really authentic, like it feels appropriate or real. And then there's a lot of guys like us that I think when we started, we were like, I think I'm supposed to be like, why don't you shave your bush already? I'm down there with a machete. And it's like, no, I should be talking about candy canes and like penguins.
Yeah. These are the tools that I have. Yeah, you know what? Okay, that's a good question though. Who, for example, deep down inside, I still want to be a Bill Burr.
Do your Bill Burr. Do
my fucking Bill Burr.
There you go.
I'm out here. We're just trying to get it done. But like, so my question, Pete, is there a comic that you still kind of you're far enough along now that you're pretty confident in the comic that you are, but like, was there a tiny part in your brain that you wish you were another type of comic, or you were like, I'm destined to be?
No, I always say pick the right persona, and like a podcast engine and like a show engine, like your persona engine, like you think you're going to be this kind of comedian, and then over years the audience rewards and discourages other things, and you evolve and you change, and then your own personal experiences change, and you mature in certain ways, change in certain ways. So like I'm so glad. I think Anthony's on the show tonight. That's why I keep thinking about him. Anthony Jeselnik picked the right one for him, because I think that's who he is and what he likes. But if I had picked that, and then I later got really interested in other stuff, it would have been really tricky to pivot. So
that's a tough pivot.
I think a Bill Burr base for a comedian is great, because all you're really saying there is, I want to present my opinion and then defend it in unexpected ways. And that's fine. Bill.
I don't know. I know that I don't have the tools for it. I'd have to get there, I think. I think I'd have to become one like later. I think I fit silly boy way easier.
I think, but still Bill is an okay base. Like I watched a clip of Bill Burr last night, and it got me writing my own jokes, because just listening to a pure comic, and he is one of my, if not my favorite, he's one of my absolute favorites.
Yeah.
And it's because he's just a very sharp knife. So you can watch him, and then even if you're not going to cut the same kind of cake with it, you can cut your cake with that same decisive energy, and just be like, what am I saying? Like, what am I... Like, one of my favorite jokes, I mention it a lot in conversations, podcasts and stuff, is I don't want to have sex every day. Like this assumption that men want to have sex whenever they can have sex.
Yeah.
And the best, it's because I saw an article that said 7 reasons why you should fuck your husband every day. And I was
God.
You're gonna
leave me alone.
Jeez.
Yeah, you're gonna fuck me every day.
Oh.
Like,
No.
I'm working. I just heard a song that made me think of my father. Yeah, I'm not in the mood.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about my dad right now.
And that was inspired not by Bill. Bill wouldn't do that joke. That's a joke. In essence, I'm saying masculinity is a blend. Everybody's a blend of both masculine and feminine. And like, I sometimes need to be coddled or wooed or like understood to be in the mood. And like, that was my cross to bear. That was my point to shove down people's throats. So you take that Bill energy and apply it to what you don't have to learn how to defend. Like, what do you know? That's what a bit is. Like, something you guys said earlier made me think of like, oh, you said, Chris, you were like, I go to a party and I'm only thinking about bits. Yeah. Later, it got to the point where like, I'll have a bit, I'll think of a bit, and then I'll go, if it's really good, it'll come back. Like, I'll just go like, if it's really good. Because what I want to do bits about is stuff that I don't need to think, how do I feel about that? Like, I just know how I feel about it. Like, I'm working on a new bit about like how I like thicker women. Like, I don't like Ferraris. Like, everybody wants like a sleek, fast Ferrari girl, and I'm like, I want a monster truck. Like, I like the feel of like the suspension and all that. And like,
what a monster.
this is very Bill Burr, like, but I'm like,
Yeah.
when the lights are off, who wants to feel a drafting table? Who wants to feel like the leg of a chair? Like, I want to feel like soft, round cookie dough and be warm. And
table.
I don't want to feel a drafting table. And then, the thing that makes me think it's a bit is the third point is, go to any museum and you'll see that history is on my side. Like, this obsession with like, I've never had a whole apple is new. And that's being imposed on women. And I'm trying to be like the Rubenesque thing. Every museum, I know like Michelangelo's David, he's real cut or whatever, but there's a lot of like thicker women being represented.
Totally.
In the fine arts.
Yeah.
And it's because they were like, that's beautiful. She can survive childbirth. I'm not worried about her. she could probably handle a flu, you know what I mean?
She could handle a flu. Maybe after the pandemic, that's going to come back now. Now we're just like, that guy looks like he's good at hanging out with. Yeah, that guy looks like he could survive a lockdown.
That's it.
Yeah.
I'm looking for that lockdown body.
I want a lockdown body. I have to write that down.
Lockdown body.
Yeah, lockdown body.
Oh, not that. Survive a flu.
Survive a flu. Yeah.
Survive a flu is good. If lockdown body makes it in there, I'm going to feel so proud.
That's it. I did it. Yeah.
I was there. We were there for Survive a Flu, though. We were there at that moment. I hope I see it. Yeah. Okay. Do we have time, Chris? Do we have time to rapid fire, or will rapid fire end up being another half an hour? Because I have to go work.
I can really do a rapid fire because I should. My baby's napping, and this is key Val time.
Oh, key Val time. Let's
so now I will. I'll do a rapid fire, but I'll be good. I'll be rapid.
Okay. Chris has some rapid fires, which I believe you're familiar with.
I do? Oh yeah, no, yeah, you know the rapid fires. Okay. Okay, here they come. What makes you very mad?
Oh boy, very mad. I don't like people second guessing or doubting that I'm good, and so I run ads on my podcast, and one time I said the wrong copy, and then they emailed me and they were like, we just want you to run a free ad to make up for this. And I was okay with that.
To make up for it.
I was a little bit irked by that, but I understood. I was like, I fucked up and I'll do it. And then I did it. And then when we sent the invoice in, they wrote this very firmly worded email that was like, where is the no cost make good? It's not on the invoice. Did it run? Did you do it? And I'm just like, I will see red because I'm like, you asked me to do it. I said I would do it. And now I feel like Corleone. I'm like, you come into my house? Because really what it's doing is I'm like, if we want to get into the, like, it wasn't very funny. The guy you roasted said it was really funny. My real honest truth is, don't you know that my mom thinks I'm perfect? Don't you know that I'm the special boy, that I'm a golden child, that I do good things? Like, so that chips away at this belief that I have that everyone needs to know that I'm good, special, and right. So it makes me way madder than it should, but that's what makes me angry.
Yeah, I love that. I feel that.
Do you remember an impression that you did on your SNL audition?
I never did an SNL audition, but I sent in tapes.
You sent in tapes. Okay, yeah.
I never got to do a proper, and I definitely did Ray Romano. I used to do Ray Romano singing, "Happy birthday to you."
That's great.
My favorite is Al Pacino.
Al Pacino,
Gum in my mouth. When I auditioned for SNL. I like doing Quiet Pacino. Everybody yells.
That's a good impression.
That's really good.
It's very, very important to me that Lorne understand that I am a comic actor. I am. The I am wasn't right, but everything else.
That was a good impression.
I'm a sucker for impressions. I love that.
I fucking am. You listen to me, Lorne. I can do a sketch. I can wear a big donut. Come out with 2 squirt guns, huh?
Oh, that's good. Yeah, I feel like I get in trouble for my impressions are like, I can say one sentence and then I'm like, there, I've got it. Like, like my Ryan Reynolds is just, hi there. And that's it. And then
It's a good one, though.
well, look what we have here. Like that.
That's good.
Yeah.
What we have
So
here.
I build them all out. It's just a light Jim Carrey, right?
And he's doing Ace Ventura.
Yeah, fully.
I'm not
Yeah.
saying he's ripping off Ace Ventura, but
No, but that's
would
the
he be
science.
talking
He's-
that way.
yeah.
Yeah.
If the scientist Ace Ventura hadn't invented the theory,
exactly.
going, alrighty then, I'm Deadpool. It's good to be here, and that's okay, Ryan.
That's
if you hear
okay.
this,
If
it's
you hear
okay.
that, yeah, he's gonna listen. We'll tweet it.
Oh, and
Tweet
should
at
he
him.
be on this too? Maybe
Yeah,
we'll
we'll
get
get
him
him.
in the mix. The four of us, maybe? I don't know. That could be fun.
My last rapid fire question.
Here it is, rapid fire.
What is the first song that you downloaded on Napster?
Oh,
God.
that's a good one,
Yeah.
actually.
I don't know if it was the absolute first one, but a guy played a CD or a tape maybe of songs he had downloaded from Napster. It must have been a CD. And it had the song, Ain't Got Money for an Aeroplane.
Okay.
Ain't got time to take a fast train. Lonely days are gone. I'm gonna go. I think it's called A Letter. My baby, she wrote me a letter. And I remember, like, I had no taste in music. I didn't get taste in music until after my divorce. Because that's when I was like, oh, Radiohead makes so much sense now.
This is perfect.
Yeah.
And I think it was that song. It was definitely songs like that, because it was like a cooler song that I would have heard in the car when my dad was listening to oldies. But I was like, I like that he's like, ooh, it's like got a pace. Ain't got time to take a fast train. I was like, is this cool? So it might have been that
Is
song.
this what cool is?
Yeah.
Download
And I
it.
remember that CD, the songs would cut off halfway, and he's like, that's all the file had.
Oh, I love that.
Oh man.
I love the 90s.
This time, it's different. With Peter and Chris. This time, it's different.
To wrap up podcasts, we've been trying this new thing out. We do production company end screens, like at the end of The Simpsons or something, or like absolutely. So
That guy is drunk. Every time I see him, he traumatizes me because he reminds me of like my dad's drunk friend who's like putting a hook in a worm. And I'm like, are we going to do this? He goes, absolutely. And I'm not comforted by that guy. He scares me. You know, his shorts are too short. One
God,
ball's coming out. I don't like the feeling I get from that guy.
yeah.
I'm more of a Gracie Films. That's me.
Yeah.
Crazy film.
That's me.
Yeah.
I love a shusher. I don't shush, but if someone else shushes on my behalf, I love
Crazy
it.
films.
So so we go around and we
So
just
you
make,
get it.
we
You
make
get
one
what
up.
it is.
You make a brand new one up.
All right, so
Okay.
we're wrapping up the
Peter,
podcast.
do you want to begin, and then I'll go, and then
Okay.
and then other Peter. Okay.
Couple of a Peter sandwich here. Okay. Okay. Sofa chair.
You guys borrowing one?
Oh, I got a tag on mine.
Can you turn that down a little bit?
Nice.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah.
That's good. That's why. Can you turn that down a little bit? Are you guys borrowing one? It has to be something we don't fully understand what's going on.
There's an engine to them. They have their own little world they live in.
I got one.
Okay, here it is.
Zadoom. Ketchup's not mustard.
Yeah. That's
Pete
good.
Holmes!
That's good.
This podcast has been brought to you by the Sonar Network. Sonar!
Oops, drop the podcast.
What if people liked and also subscribed?
I think we're just down here to kill time.